first fund is the award of the contract for design, manufacturing, and supply of critical spare parts for chromosomes grapes.
Federal Executive Council approves contracts for upgrading of the nation's power infrastructure.
A large chunk of Nigerians have fled their homes, while many others are being held under captive.
House of Reps calls for suspension of population census over security concerns.
"27 abductees of College of Forestry in Kaduna regain freedom."
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on forging a common front for national cohesion.
Well, Nigeria is a multi-ethnic and culturally diverse society that has witnessed conflicts arising from ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity. Conceptual issues like ethnicity, cultural diversity, federalism, and national integration in the Nigerian context has been an attempt to forge unity in diversity.
Well, in the face of social-cultural differences, how have we as a country fared in ensuring peaceful coexistence, unity, and development? Another question is, how can peace and development be achieved in the face of current security challenges being witnessed across the country?
And a good question, Kingsley, really. The challenge of insecurity in the country is an obstacle in unity, peaceful coexistence, and stable development. Conflicts and urban violence are now becoming commonplace. And Kingsley, if I may ask, why is this so?
Obviously, there are challenges that the country is facing right now, from insecurity to bloodletting in different parts of the country, and we have also seen as well an attack on security agencies. But the question is, how can the country make progress in the face of all of this? For one, genuine investors are scared away, and for another, they're saying that there is a common link between national security and national development.
Indeed, that's true, Kingsley. Any remedial attack on national development must therefore involve issues of national security. And there also is the important need to encourage healthy discussions among individuals, communities, and the government, just like we do here on Good Morning Nigeria, identifying national issues and trying to find solutions to them.
That's right, Nadabo. Now, conflict, violence, and insecurity are related matters that, of course, we'll be examining in today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We will also, if we, of course, get across to Kaduna, have a conversation with the commissioner in charge of internal security in that state, where yesterday the remaining students of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization who were abducted 56 days ago were released. And, of course, there is joy all around, particularly for their parents and loved ones. So that's our outlook today for Good Morning Nigeria. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the program. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Yusuf Nadabu Usman. As usual, the complementary segments are going to be here, newspaper review, and the rest of them. In the meantime, we now welcome Musbah Udan Wahab for the Good Morning News and highlights of the news. Good morning, Musbah.
Very good morning, Nandabo and Kingsley. Let's take the news. We'll begin with somewhat good news as the remaining 27 students abducted from College of Forestry Africa in Kaduna State have been released. Police Command Headquarters Wednesday evening, the person ASP Mohammed Jalige told correspondent Yahya Adam that the students are currently undergoing medical treatment before they are reunited with their family. And following that, President Muhammad Buhari has welcomed the release of the Africa students, congratulating their friends, families, the government and people of Kaduna State following what the presidency calls a happy end to this saga. President Muhammad Buhari, in a message, expresses deep appreciation to all the actors who contributed to this outcome. in particular the defense and security agencies, the officials of the Ministry of Environment and the government of Kaduna State, and thanked Nigerians for their prayers. President Buhari, while calling for steadfastness and security awareness on the part of citizens, and the law enforcement agencies deplored the increasing politicization of security in the country by opportunistic politicians. The Nigeria Labour Congress says it was shocking to read a statement credited to the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, that the federal government was working to reduce the high cost of governors by cutting down the salaries of Nigerian workers. The minister was reported to have said this in Abuja at a policy dialogue on corruption and cost of governance in Nigeria organized by the ICPC. The Minister of Finance was also reported to have directed the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission to immediately review the salaries of civil servants as well as the number of federal agencies in the country. According to NLC, the multiple devaluation of the Naira in a very short time and the prevailing high inflation rates in Nigeria has knocked out the salaries earned by Nigerian workers across the board. NLC President Ayuba Waba urged President Muhammad Buhari to call the Minister of Finance to order now before she sets Nigeria on fire. According to NLC, this move is not only at odds with global-based responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is also in violation of relevant conventions and declarations on wages and decent work. The Federal Executive Council has approved over $8.28 billion as well as $3.01 billion for the execution of various contracts aimed at upgrading the nation's power infrastructure for effective service delivery to consumers. The Minister of Power, Salim Maman, announced these while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammad Buhari.
Members. The first one is the award of the contract for design, manufacturing, and supply of critical spare parts for chromosomes, grapes, 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV circuit breakers in the sum of 298,339,887 naira. And the second one is the award of the contract for the procurement of 50 sets of 400 AH battery banks, 30 to 50 volts, and 30 number of 110 volts battery chargers for the substation used by the TCM in the sum of 644,805,953 naira 10 kobo.
Now, there have been worries over the absence of a specialized institution backed by law for the training of officers of the Nigerian Correctional Service, just like the Nigerian Police Academy and the Nigerian Defense College. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports that the legislators are now considering a bill that seeks to establish the Nigerian Correctional Service Academy.
Members of the course will also analyze formulation of national strategy for the administration of our prisons.
Particularly in this period where correctional facilities are being threatened by those who don't mean well for this country.
Accurate population census figures enables all-round planning by governments. But then the House of Representatives is of the view that the upcoming population and housing census may not be a success due to security concerns. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the House has urged the National Population Commission to put on hold its plan of conducting a head count in Nigeria. The Nigeria Space Research and Development Agency is strengthening its collaboration with all security agencies towards bringing to an end the insecurity phase the nation is currently facing. Now, to updates in COVID-19, 52 new COVID-19 infections have been recorded nationwide within the last 24 hours. bringing the country's total confirmed cases to 165,273. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, indicate that among the 52 cases, Taraba recorded 18 cases, FCT and Rivers recorded 9 new cases each, while Lagos got 7, Akwa Ibom 6, Kano 2, while Kaduna recorded just a case. NCDC records shows that active cases nationwide remain at 7,789, while total discharged so far are 155,403, and the death toll is 2,065. And that concludes the morning news and Good Morning Nigeria. The program will continue shortly with Kingsley and Nadabo.
My name is Dr. Faisal Shuaib. I am the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Earlier today, I took my first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Despite all of the delays, all of the doubts, here we are, Nigerians can finally access the vaccines. I hope that Nigerians will come out and get these vaccines because these vaccines are safe, they're effective, and they truly work. Over the course of the next few weeks, we have to continue wearing face masks, we have to do social distancing, but I know eventually once we're able to get herd immunity, then we'll be able to stop all of these non-pharmaceutical interventions. To get the vaccination, you should go to the NPHCDA website. There's a link on there that you click and you can register and schedule exactly where you want to get your vaccine.
Here today, gone tomorrow. 'Cause you volatile like the water. And you promise what you don't know. Sometimes it's right and then it's so wrong. Them go do like say them why. We promise you the world. Brother, all now worship. Up all on the open eye. I see no feel water. Like you'll be let down.
Smartphone Network.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, FNCS, FBCS, FIIM cordially invites stakeholders from both public and private sector to the hybrid fiscal and virtual launching of the National Policy for the Promotion of Indigenous Content in the Nigeria Telecommunications Sector and revised National Digital Identity Policy for SIM card registration. In line with the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, NDEPS, the policy is meant to actualize the President Muhammadu Buhari's campaign promises. The launching will be performed by the special guest of honor, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Date, Thursday, the 6th of May, 2021. Time, 10 a.m. Venue, Presidential Villa, State House, Abuja, and virtual platforms. Note, invited guests are advised to adhere strictly to all COVID-19 protocols. Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, leveraging digital technologies for national economic development.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
Sheffield United only have their pride to play for when Crystal Palace visit this Saturday. On the Premier League Live is Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
Then you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority here in Abuja. We will be discussing this morning forging common front for national cohesion, and also take a little while to look at the update on the release of the students of the Federal College of Forestry, Afaka. For a start, let's join Kunle Adeyeye with business update.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, while appearing before the Senate Committee in Abuja, said the federal government has done the needful as regards the funds. She explained that what the ministry is approving for the armed forces is not enough, but has so far approved all budgeted allocation to the armed forces, adding that the president puts premium on the welfare and equipment for the military.
When you look at the details, you find that the request is made through the Ministry of Defense by the Defense headquarters, and they detail out how each of these funds is going to be used. So it's initiated by the ministry, by the defense, it goes to the president, he approves, we release what is based on what is approved. We don't have any view of the actual utilization of this. What we are doing is releasing the funds.
In another development, the Federal Inland Revenue Service says it has served public notice to all defaulters that the service plans to recover taxes due from defaulters' assets in custody of any person. In a notice signed by the Executive Chairman of FIRS, Mr. Muhammad Nami indicates that all companies, corporate entities, and other agents of collection stated are required to pay all outstanding tax liabilities to the FIRS within 30 days from the date of the publication of the notice or risk.
All right, many thanks, Kunle, for the business package. Coming up next now is Newspaper Review.
Oh, well, Bayo Achebi is already in the house. Good morning, Bayo.
Yusuf Nadabo, good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning,
Right, Bayo,
Nigeria.
good to see you.
Good, thank you.
Kinsley, what do you have up there? The Nation newspaper?
I have the Nation, and I think you have the Punch.
I have the Punch, so let's get started with the Nation.
All right. The Nation, above the nameplate, says Labour rejects bid to cut workers' wages. Build affordable houses, that's the writer to that headline. And the story is on page 5. FIRS to deduct cash from tax defaulters' bank accounts. That's page 25. And why power supply must be prioritized by Lumelu. 902.1 million naira property lost to Katsina Central Market fire. Nigeria set for 5G technology. NCC, Netcomsat sign MOU. And banks directors back CBN's action on First Bank. APC Senate caucus tackles PDP on insecurity and economy, and Kogi Council Chair freed. That's on page 5. 27 abducted Forestry College students freed after 57 days. With a rider, quoting President Buhari, release 16 Greenfield varsity undergraduates and others. It's Chelsea versus Man City, the English clubs in European Championships League final. And then the photograph there on the front page has a caption, women marching on the streets of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, for the slain job seeker, the late Ini Obongo Moren, yesterday. Nasarawa signed 6 billion naira packed for 2,000 houses. And Mbaka's drummer, Rock Senugu, page 5. Ayo.
Oh, well, on the Punch newspaper this morning, we have the following stories. Nigeria nears 5G deployment as NCC NICOMSAT sign MOU. Get details of that on page 19. And below that very story, 3 other stories, which include cash crunch. Labor draws bottom lines warns against salary crash, that is salary slash, that is on page 2. And on page 18, government approach wrong ransom payment won't end kidnapping, says Sobasinjo. And then on page 20, crude nears $70 per barrel, raises fear of Federation account depletion. The main story on the Punch newspaper is Boko Haram attack plot on National Assembly and VIP locations causes care. On page 2, details of that. The writers are Reps Committee Chair notifies legislators of police warning indicating terror attack, and then lawmakers suggest movement to enter exit complex through presidential villa. Below there, we have Akwa Ibom governor's wife leads protest over slain job seekers, and I think these are the stories down there. The pictures are really very vivid there, you can see, and then you get details of that on page 9. Southern governors meet, scheduled Delta summit over insecurity on page 8. 921 million naira lost to casino market fire, says committee. You get details of that on page 8 too. And on page 3, reps condemn killing of 70 in Benue in 3 weeks. At the bottom page of the Punch newspaper, we have on page 9, El Rufai receives 27 freed Kaduna students and 2 are still missing. On page 4, gunmen abducted hospital owner to treat wounded colleagues, says the police. And then Boko Haram killed 5 soldiers, 25 others in Borno attacks, according to some sources. Get details of that on page 8. Bayo?
Thank you, Nalabo. Well, yesterday we had good news of 1 student of Greenfield University released. Today we have 27 students of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, Afaka, Kaduna, have all been released. The Litros reports that the release was facilitated by Sheikh Abubakar Gumi Dialogue Committee with support from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. The student 37 were abducted 11th of March. The Daily Trust asked that the initial 10 release were let go after a ransom was paid by some parents and the school management. The 27 released students who were escorted by security agents arrived in 2 buses to the police headquarters in Kaduna. The students who had been there abducted for 56 days appeared weak. Some of them could barely walk. 1 female had to be carried by the security agent. They should be given medical attention quickly and also psychologically settled down. The Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arua, says that Kaduna State Government rejoiced with the free students, their families, and members of management of the college. Governor Nasir El-Rufai also has praised the release, and he has charged them to view the ordeal as a motivator. He enjoined them to put the past behind them and work hard towards a happier and successful future. President Muhammad Buhari, while welcoming the release of the students, said, "We are happy they have been released." A statement by Garba Shehu, who says that we express deep appreciation to the actors who contributed to this happy outcome. The defense, security agents, officials of the Ministry of Environment, as well as the Kaduna State government. He said, "We thank Nigerians too for their prayers." The president also called for the release of the 16 Greenfield students who are still held. Elsewhere in Kaduna State, 13 other persons who had been kidnapped has also been released. So let's hope that our competitors who have become victims of bandits and kidnappers will begin to be released gradually. Nobody deserves to be held to ransom in his nation for committing no offense. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has enjoined government to develop a means to deal with kidnappers and bandits. He says he is against ransom payment. He told visiting ethnic professional group from Benue State who were visiting that a situation whereby anybody is paying ransom, that person is a folly, because by paying ransom, you are encouraging the bandits and the criminals who are kidnapping. However, if you are not going to pay ransom, then you must have a means to deal heavily with it. You must have the stick to deal with it. The former president, who is reported to have been instrumental to the release of the Afaka students, is reported to have said that former President Goodluck Jonathan and the government of Muhammadu Buhari negotiated with kidnappers, though they deny doing so in public. He says government must develop a means to deal with kidnappers and bandits as against paying ransom. Meanwhile, Governor Hope Uzodinma has been talking about the insecurity in Nigeria. The governor says the rising spate of attack, kidnapping across the country are sponsored. He says that they are targeted at the president and the ruling party to discredit the administration and allow the sponsors to gain power in 2023. He was speaking on a television program, not out of NTA, and he asked, why is this more in Imo? Why is this more in Ebonyi? Why is this more in Kaduna? He says these are the APC states that are delivering dividends of democracy, and the idea is to discredit them. He asked that very soon we will rise to the occasion. On devolving police powers to the states, he says it was proposed while he was a senator in the 7th and the 8th National Assembly, and on the 2 occasions, the motion was defeated. He said people blame the president unjustly. He cannot single-handedly devolve police powers to the state. He says a private member's bill could be proposed to the National Assembly because the National Assembly is the only entity that can amend the Constitution and grant police powers. The House of Representatives have also enjoined the National Population Commission to consider postponing the census proposed for 2021. The resolution was passed on a motion of urgent national importance proposed by Honorable Shehu Beji. He posited that several factors will hamper the exercise, especially which affect the situation of security, and this will affect the figures that will be obtained. He says a census exercise will be jeopardized, largely due to effect of insecurity of many Nigerians living in many places and displaced or in several locations. Furthermore, he said the safety of the enumerators cannot be guaranteed in places where there are insecurity. The last census Nigeria held was in 2006, and by convention we are required to hold census every 10 years. So since 2016, 5 years away, we've been late for census. The current figure we have are all periodic estimates.
And this one is also going to be dashed.
We've never had a census every 10 years.
Yes.
We have never.
Yes, the ideal, the convention is to have a census every 10 years.
That was what the law said.
We had a census, I think, in 1962, I believe.
63.
62. Then the next one we had was 1973. And after 73, there was no census again until 1991. That was during the Babangida administration. After 1991, it took another 15 years, 2006. Now, this is the 15th year, and the House is saying that on account of insecurity, which makes sense, but are we going to suggest that the remainder of the, let's say, 6 months, clear 6 months, will be so insecure as to the extent that we cannot conduct a national population census?
Well, no time for electricity tariff increase. That's the editorial. What is it saying?
Well, editorial is expressing concern that the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission is now contemplating increase in tariff. And the argument here is that in spite of inflation, the increase, depreciation of the naira, high cost of gas prices, and the lower generating capacity of electricity, the Regulatory Commission is now contemplating increased tariff. The editorial is saying that this will be an excess burden on Nigerians who are already currently putting up with a lot of demands. The editorial also reminds that in spite of the promise to provide 6 million meters, it has not been fulfilled. The improved electricity supply that has been promised has not been fulfilled. And therefore, rather than the regulatory agency protecting customers, it seems to be in support of the discos, transcos, and everybody. And the consumers are the receiving end.
But it's going to be a hard time, really, for Nigerians to have that.
Unfortunately, when was the last time they increased the tariff? When was the last time? If you had 10,000 naira in your pocket some years ago, you could buy some 780-something units of electricity. Today, that same 10,000 will give you less than 3,500 units of electricity. So you want to increase it now so that if you took 10,000 naira to buy electricity, you'll be getting only 200 units. These are the things that increase the cost of living for people, the cost of doing business, and all kinds of things. And then when you look at the inflationary figures that NBS, that's the Bureau of Statistics, would release, you will see that the figures are climbing. Double digits, almost, it's over 18% now.
18.3.
What is the basis? You say price of gas. The price of gas is within the control of the country. Gas is produced here, so even if it is dollarized, there are ways that this can be negotiated. And then just by the way, I don't know that, but we're wrapping up with Bayo. The story that said that Labour rejects bid to cut workers' wage. The Honourable Minister of Finance did not say that they were going to slash workers' wages. The essence of what she said was that there will be salary harmonization to check pay disparity across the public service. That's the essence of what, not that worker salaries will be slashed. It's salary harmonization. And then the whole idea of streamlining the number of parastatals and agencies, it's been there for almost a decade now. Following the Oronsaye panel report, you have about 600 agencies and parastatals. They say, look, these agencies and parastatals are too many, streamline them. And NLC say, no, we reject it.
Well, actually, the president alluded to this earlier in the year, that there are disparities within even the public services. The salary, there are disparities, and therefore there's going to be need to have them harmonized. After all, everybody goes to the same market.
Oh, well, that could be another topic for another day. At least on Good Morning Nigeria, it will look good, really. Thank you so much, Bayo.
Thank you, too.
Thank you so much. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll now take a break. Stay with us for more on this program.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Like every mother, I'm worried about dangerous insects, especially mosquitoes, which spread diseases like malaria to my loved ones. This year, I'm not afraid. I'm using new Mortein Insta-Kill. New Mortein Insta-Kill's improved formulation knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster. Not even a single mosquito is spared because even one mosquito bite can cause malaria. Mortein Insta knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster.
My name is Nancy Oyedia Orom. I'm AIT correspondent. I've been covering the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 the last 1 year. I just took the jab, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and it was to take vaccines with the SGF, the ministers. For someone who has experienced COVID in the last 1 year, I want to implore media houses, broadcast industries, let's join hands together to propagate the good information out there for people to believe in these vaccines. That's the only way we have health 2022. Well, I must implore all Nigerians to go out there, register on the Primary Health Development website. These vaccines are free for all Nigerians. Go to the website, register. It is free for you and I.
Life is a game. We are cool. We are trendy. Energy moves us. Sports is our game, our oxygen. Because with the round leather, we ball. We hustle. All over the land, north and south, we are united in the positive glory. We are encapsulated by HIFL. We live for the game. It's game time. Showing on NTA Network.
Sheffield United only have their pride to play for when Crystal Palace visit this Saturday. On the Premier League Live is Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
While you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As we indicated, we, of course, are going to have two topics for conversation this morning. If we're able to get across to our Kaduna Network Center, I will, of course, be speaking to the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security to indicate to us what the latest development is. Right there, he's there on the screen, and you can see him nice on the right side of the screen. This is on the release of the students who were abducted from the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, AFACA, in Kaduna State some 56 days ago. So let's now welcome the Honorable Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan. Pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, good news out of Kaduna yesterday, and tremendous relief for the parents, guardians, and well-wishers, and particularly also for the Kaduna State government. What is the state of the students that have just been released?
Well, as we speak, the students are undergoing a thorough medical checkups. In view of the situation they have found themselves within the last 7 weeks. This is a situation at the moment. Medical doctors and other professionals who are versed in managing trauma and other challenges are attending to them, and they are responding from where I left them last night. And we are happy with this development, and we are also grateful to all that made this a reality. And we are also using this opportunity, like we told the student yesterday during our first conversation with them, that they should look at this as a motivator. They should put all that happened behind them. They should press on towards a successful future that lies ahead. We also explain to them the situation as it we ourselves within the time that they were in captivity, and we are happy with the response. And it may also interest you to know that there is no any evidence that warrants that some of the female students were in any way harassed in high spirit, and by the special grace of God, once we're through with these check-ups, they will definitely rejoin their families and loved ones.
Well, Commissioner Aruan, congratulations once again. Is it true that it's not all of them that have been released? Is it just a media hype or what? Or have they all been released?
I can confirm to you that all the students of Federal College of Forestry Mechanization that were kidnapped on the 11th of March 2021 are all free. None of them is in captivity.
Tell us, is the college open or it's closed?
Can you come again?
I said, tell us, is the College of Forestry Mechanization, AFACA, is it open at this time or it's shut?
Well, administratively, the institution is operating, but academically, in view of what happened, certainly there is unintended break as a result of the unfortunate incident. But what is important is the fact that we've gotten all the students.
Oh, well, Commissioner, after your interaction with with the students, could you share with us some of their thoughts, especially in captivity, and what the public needs to know about that?
Well, it's true. We have a case in our hands, and we've never denied the reality of our situation. As we speak, we have students of Greenfield University who we have a number of
what should we expect with regard to the students of Greenfield University who are still in captivity? We know that it's a fairly sensitive university. What do we know at this time, and what should we expect?
Well, we will rather keep our cards close to our chests on that issue. Like you rightly pointed out, security issue is very sensitive and is very strategic. There is no gain when you make a comment that will likely undermine all the efforts that are being put in place. The long and short is we are on our feet, and we are optimistic that at the end of the day, things will work out well for us. And I am equally using this opportunity to assure the parents and the university management and those that are following events in the state and beyond that Kaduna State government is conscious and alive of its responsibility, and we will do all that is within our reach to ensure that we get out of this challenge by the special grace of God.
I wish you all the best, Commissioner Internal Security, that is, and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruan. We thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria this morning.
You're welcome.
Very much. And we'll now take a break before we come back to our real discussion on the... All right, we have a package really which are supposed to go ahead and then look at it and then say what is it for us forging a common front for national cohesion. And I think Joseph Otzen has done that package for us. Listen to him.
Government also need to work with traditional rulers, because traditional rulers knows the people in their community, and their community head can ask questions and know what happens to what led to what happened to what is happening, and by then they'll be able to face out exactly what is happening and be able to sort it out.
Each community in this country has youth leaders. How far has the government engaged them to now engage their other fellow youths in their community? So it is high time that the government should see reasons to quickly call on National Youth Security Summit that will have to come from community down to the national. Then, these youth leaders knows the bad eggs in their community, which they know their weaknesses, their weak points, of how the government can call them together and ask them, what do you want?
Because a lot of youths are not employed. And I told you earlier that because of the lack of equitable distribution of wealth, they see others who are riding heavy vehicles, and they have also gone to school. The pain which, the pain they are going through is what they unleash on the other members of the societies by trying to bring their own point home.
That I have a stake in this business. Now, what we can do is for all of us to just calm down. All these sentiments, you can just drop them for now and work with the government. If the government is not willing to change, then we can change the government, because the people are the government. It is the people who you put in to represent you that are leading you. So if the government is not working, we can change the government. But for now, let's just calm down and see how we can work with the government to make sure we are out of this problem within the shortest possible time before it deteriorates further.
All right, a cross-section of Nigerians there expressing their views on the current situation in the country and how to forge a common consensus for national peace and cohesion. With us in the studios now to discuss this issue further, I would like to welcome an elder statesman. He's Major General IBM Haruna. He's more famously known by his initials IBM, which stand for Ibrahim Batal Magawi Haruna. He was Federal Commissioner for Information. They were called Federal Commissioners before 1979, when we had the Second Republic. So a Federal Commissioner at that time was the equivalent today of a minister. Major General IBM Haruna, also a lawyer and a keen golfer. Pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Also here with us in the studios, we have Ambassador Obizoba Chiemelu. According to the information we have, is Director General Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide. Pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
I also have a regular face here in the studio, former Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. It's a delight to have you once again. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Okay, we're supposed to get a guest to join us
from Lagos, right?
Once our connection is sorted out by the engineers, we'll of course get to introduce the guest. In the meantime, gentlemen, these are fairly challenging times for us as a people and also as a country. There are daily reports of insecurity in terms of banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, violent crimes and attacks on security personnel and their formations. General IBM Haruna, beginning with you, what's your reading of our national situation today?
It is some growing dynamics of unease. With diverse perceptions as to what is going on. My perception may not agree, perhaps with yours or with that of others. But I have been fixed on a kind of prediction or prophecy that Nigeria was destined to break up by 2017. But the concert of many political developments has not made that to happen. Whether it will still happen or not will depend on how we come out from the present challenges which we are facing. Primarily, what I see as a basic challenge is the mismanagement of our diversity. Flowing from when we came out of the Civil War in 1970, it was said and agreed and probably also advanced that there were no victors, no vanquished. But over time, as we have arrived at this present situation, we seem to have evolved a situation where some groups see themselves as victims, some as vanquished, some as victors. We have come to that situation where certain sections of our nation see themselves as slaves. Some sections in their narratives are seen as masters. Some sections in our present dispensation see themselves as colonizers, or they are being dubbed colonizers, and some as irrelevant minorities. What has led us to this kind of attitude towards ourselves is priming us for destruction. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a clear-cut definition by the government as to what direction they are to drive the emotions and sentiments of the people in general. As a result, I think there is messages of hatred, disaffection, desire for perhaps anarchy or uncontrolled situation. I think government should be blamed for evolving this situation because they themselves do not seem to settle on the purposes of their existence at this particular time in Nigeria. In spite of the Constitution, the legislature has not passed very important basic bills to do with elections, to do with the most important industry, the petroleum industry bill, and other major directions they should have legislated on, like amending the 1999 Constitution to suit the experiences we have had In 20 years, no perfection has been driven towards getting the separation of powers really working in sync. With the result that the provisions of the Constitution and the basic perceived contracts between government and the people seem to be overlooked. The security, welfare, protection of property and life has been very fundamental. It's protected by the fundamentals, fundamental objectives
and directive principles of state policy.
And the freedom of the citizens and the declarations of human rights. These values are entrenched in the Constitution. But the Constitution itself has not been accepted and endorsed by the people. Significant proportion of the Nigerian citizenry believe that the Constitution was imposed and lacks the basic fundamental legitimacy, and therefore challenge not only the Constitution, but also challenge the powers of the makers of the Constitution. And I think here it has brought into sharp contest between a significant proportion of the people and the government.
Okay.
But lastly, I think there's an important point I want to make here. The present president voted in is a soldier, a military man, from the same stable that I came from 1966 to date. He turned a politician, and I think the politicians don't like it, and he seems to be fueling the idea that this is a chance to finally do away with the military influence and governance. So we are at this stage strictly challenged by insecurity, contrived and perhaps orchestrated, and the reluctance to see forthcoming explanation of events seems to also make the decision very difficult to predict.
Oh, well, thank you, IBM Haruna, for that opening salvo, I would say. We also have a guest, really. We really say we're expecting somebody from Lagos, and of course, Alhaja Sinatu Ojikutu, the former Deputy Governor of Lagos, is online with us. You're welcome to Good Morning, Nigeria.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, while you settle down, let me get across to Ambassador Obizoba Chimelu, the Ohanese, rather the Director General, Strategic Planning and Implementation, Ohanese in the Igbo General Assembly worldwide. From the opening salvo of IBM Haruna, we could just see how, the bigness and the diversity in this country has been mismanaged. That is resulting in this situation we find ourselves in now. And so much so that we're trying to find a common front in order to forge a national cohesion at all costs in order to run away from the, negatives that may follow. Do you share in this view or idea that we've really mismanaged our diversity?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I share the same view. Our problems didn't start today. The lack of trust, the lack of understanding, is fueling a lot of agitations. There are major challenges today is caused by our political elite because they no longer connect to the people, and people are not being carried along to know what their activities are. And there's every part of the country is feeling agitated because things are not working well. Just like he mentioned as a result of our constitution, especially the Electoral Act, I expect to be in my house to vote by coming 2023. But up to date, the amendment of the Electoral Act has not been attended to by the National Assembly. The issue we need to address, and urgently, is to engage the people. Once people are properly engaged and you sell your programs and activities to them, you carry them along in formulating the policies and programs of the government, you will see that the agitations, insecurity will return. The fundamental issues we have is the youth. We have not managed our youth population. Our strength is in diversity, no doubt about it. Some quarters are calling for national conference, and I of the view that there is no need for national conference anymore because the previous administration led by President Goodluck Jonathan convoked a national conference where the elites gather, sit down to discuss. And there's one fundamental thing he told them. He said the unity of the country is sacrosanct. He was very specific. Well, for us to address the issue of insecurity and the social justice to the system, we have to engage our youth. The youth must have enabling environment to learn. They must have enabling environment to participate in governance. No one person from the south, the west, the east, of age of 70 and above can go to the bush and carry arms against his people. It's the youth. If the youth are properly engaged, just like the report he just showed, the man who was speaking, I shared the same view with him. The community leaders, the traditional rulers must be given constitutional role, because the traditional ruler and the youth leader know the people. We have challenges today for family values because these people didn't come from sky. The man who takes arm against the people is coming from a family and is known by his people. Every community knows the bad eggs. If the traditional rulers are not being protected by the constitution, because the constitutional role has not been given to them, most of the traditional rulers are even aiding and abetting these people because they believe that it's their people. But if they give them the constitutional role, protect their interests and their positions, they will fish out the people who are perpetrating this evil against their own people. No doubt about the agitation of marginalization. Ohanes and the General Assembly worldwide have set up committees to deal with certain issues because we are sensitizing our people so that we understand where we are going. We have also set up a committee on National Youth Summit because the youth must be engaged. The youth must be properly engaged for us to come out of this mess.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Chiemelo. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. Just before we bring in Ambassador Joe Keshi, let's return to our Lagos Network Center, where we earlier introduced the former Deputy Governor of Lagos, Alhaja Ojikutu. Your Excellency, once again, I'd delight to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria. I wouldn't know whether you heard the opening comments by Major General IBM Haruna. In brief, he was saying that we are having growing dynamics of unease in the country. And that, of course, there are diverse perceptions as to what is going on the basis of the mismanagement of our diversity and the consequences that we are seeing, whether in terms of violent crimes or agitation for dismemberment, banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism. Again, I ask you the same question that I asked him. What is your reading of what is happening in different parts of the country?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria. It's getting to be frightening. It's gradually becoming frightening, especially when you hear every day tales of people being kidnapped, tales of farmlands being devastated, tales of, even right now in Lagos, we're having people in our so-called elitist area, Ikoyi and Victoria Island and Lekki, that people are being stopped in their vehicles. In the daytime, we're just praying that it will not, become more frequent, that the police will rise up to the situation and curb it. So the general has actually said it. Unfortunately, I didn't hear most of what he said, but the situation needs to be properly handled. And the way to handle it, the government is the people, and the people is the government. It seems as if, the government has disengaged from the people. They're not carrying the people along. The information dissemination is practically nil. And people feel disenchanted. People feel nothing is happening. And people are not secured. They are not feeling secured. Even going out from your area to another area now, people are frightening. So I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm saying what is on the ground here now. To travel between Lagos and Ibadan now, you have to plan very well, and you have to make sure that you don't let out that you are even traveling, because you don't know the enemy within. It's like the security network, even within the people who are supposed to secure. You are not sure who is your enemy. And the more reason now that ransoms are being paid is making them to be more, bold, to be bolder in carrying out these acts. And it's not as if anybody is trying to make people to be afraid, but people who are affected are crying out after they have paid the ransom. So our diversity, we are in Lagos State here is a mini Nigeria. We have all tribes, and shades of people here. And the government of the day is really trying to be on top of the situation with the police. But it's like it's been overwhelmed because people flock in every day. And most of them have nothing to do. Most of them are not engaged in any business. People are now afraid of the Okada riders. There are so many that if today they decide to descend on the populace, I don't know how we're going to survive. Recently, there was a situation in Lagos State University where there was a tumult between the Okada riders and the police, we understand. And they decided they were going to enter the university. But fortunately, the students rose up to the occasion. So things like this need not to come up. If people are engaged in trade, in business, or in one profession or the other, but the employment rate and the influx from the interior is aggravating the situation.
Thanks, Haja Ojikutu, former Deputy Governor of Lagos State. Ambassador Keshi, you've had them talk. And it's no news today that people are living, precariously. And of course, a lot of issues are there facing and challenging people. She mentioned some of them. IBM Haruna mentioned some of them. And of course, Ubezoba did the same thing. What's your reading?
Good morning again. Let me start by applauding the retired general for the beautiful summary he made about the situation in the country. And I really like the fact that he zeroed in on the mismanagement of our diversity, which is true. We mismanage our diversity for a number of reasons. One, the absence or the failure of consistent leadership over time, particularly leaders with the knowledge and understanding of how to deal with a multicultural society like ours. Today, we do not have anybody in position of leadership that is speaking for this country, that is trying to rally around this country as one united nation. After the crisis in Rwanda, which lost how many people? Close to almost 1 million people. The gentleman who took over, who is the president today, changed the dynamics and got everybody to realize that, listen, we're no longer Tutsis, we're no longer Hutus. We are Rwandese. The general, as the Commissioner for Information, will remember that during the war, the people of this country were mobilized for a common purpose, for the territorial integrity of this country. And immediately after the war, the 3 R's, rehabilitation and the rest of them, in order to integrate. When Gawan said that there was no vanquish and there was no victor, it perfectly worked for us. But today, what do you have? No justice, no fairness, no equity. In a society where you have no justice, no fairness, and no equity, don't talk of cohesion. There will never be. In a society where people are deliberately marginalized, don't talk of cohesion. There will never be. And yet, if you think the people of this country hate this country, let Green Eagles play a match tomorrow. You will see all Nigerians rally around. What does that tell you? It tells you that it is the leadership that is mismanaging this country in almost all facets. All our institutions are broken down, including the one you left behind, the military. They are so overstretched, they are even accused of complicity in the crisis. The police is worse. So who is going to mobilize? Look, in those days, you go during the military rule. The military was described as the unifying force. Nobody is calling for military. Forget the talk about military coup. It is the frustration of the people, the anger that is making them go to this. And interestingly enough, some of those who are talking of coup or no coup today were those who voted, campaigned for the regime in power today. But the point I want to make is, when your institutions have all broken down and you can't see, you take a look, you can't see anybody talking of rebuilding the institutions. I grew up in a society that there were a lot of influences. Apart from my parents and the church, my teachers were very influential. Today, the teachers can't even influence anybody. There were, in those days, I make this point all the time, university lecturers led public debate. They led public debate. They wrote in Daily Times and other newspapers in those days. Today, you don't find anybody from the university engaging in national debates. So who is influencing the youth? I can begin to name those who had influence on me growing up, whether in this country or who today, out of all our political leaders, who today is influencing the youth? There's no employment. And if you don't have employment, what do you want the people to do? The young ones. There's no local government. In one of the studies that was done about Zamfara, it was reported that in the rural area where the banditry started from, there was completely no presence of governance or government. What does that tell you? And yet, people collect money on a monthly basis for that local government where there was no structure, in fact, no government structure. So when you hear everybody complaining, not just that people are complaining, but they are frustrated. It is a frustration that you can't go out. You can't even ride from your place. Even here in Abuja, every day you see information, look, be careful when you are doing this, when you are doing that. It looks as if there's a state of siege. And in that situation, you can't predict what people will do. And yet, as I say all the time, and I refer to this music, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, somewhere in that beautiful music, it says the solution has been there all the time. The solution to this country's problem is not outside. It's not getting AFRICOM here. It's not getting any troops here. It's not even staging a coup. The solution is just for the leadership to live up to expectation, to live up to the Constitution. Listen, the Constitution is not as bad as we think it is. It is the people who are operating the Constitution who just have refused to do what the Constitution says they should do. The Constitution talks of fairness, justice, and equity. It talks of the protection of the security of the people. It talks of providing employment for the people. This is where the government has failed the people. And the tragedy of what we are saying is that you look into the future. You don't see anybody in the leadership position rising up to say, look, I'm going to mobilize these people towards a common goal. But instead, every day, as everybody has said, it's just you just get up. 2 days ago, I told the guy who supplied me, I said, look, I'm not sure I want to buy newspapers anymore. I'm tired of reading bloody headlines and things like that. And you ask the question, where for goodness sake is the leadership? Are they not listening? Are they not reading newspapers? Are they not unhappy about what's going on? And then you get the DSS to issue statements. The job of the DSS is not to issue statements to us. It is to protect us, provide information to government to make informed decisions. The military job is not to pledge loyalty to government. It is to protect this nation. And everybody lists what they should do, and they are doing something else. It's not regime protection. It is we all belong to this country. And until this country breaks up, which I don't pray for, some of us will continue to insist that the leaders whom we voted for must be held accountable. They must be held responsible to do what the Constitution says they should do. Very simple. Fairness, justice, equity, period. And I make the point, you cannot marginalize people and believe they will keep quiet. It's impossible. Even when you create wealth and they still feel marginalized, they will protest.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, thank you very much. I want to bring in again Major General IBM Haruna. I want you to just respond to aspects of what Ambassador Keshi has said with regard to the failure of leadership. When we say leadership, our viewers should get the fact that leadership refers to all spheres of life: economic, political, intelligentsia, and all of that. And even in the political, it refers to all the tiers of government, all the instruments that you need to canvass for and get power and then function in government. So it talks about the apparent leadership deficit that we are facing. And one of the things he said is that, for instance, out of our political leaders, who today is influencing the youth? And Ambassador Chiemelu had also indicated that our youth appear to be a neglected, significant population. And still, I know you listen to him, but I'm just highlighting this key point so that you can respond to them, that the solution has been there all along. It's inside, not external.
As my response will start with the political system. When we abandoned the parliamentary system, we abandoned the leadership of first among equals. A resolution in the parliament can dissolve the political leadership. Today, in the presidential system and the separation of powers, definitely taking charge of issues coming from day to day is that of the president. And a mere resolution in the House cannot move him unless he's impeached. So one expects a lot from the presidential system, from the president. The leadership should not end from having campaigned and then getting elected. That leadership where you have to mobilize the people, mobilize them to be behind the government's chosen way, by always taking them along. This government came on the platform of eradicating insecurity, attacking corruption, improving on the economy of the country. Now, we have had something like the COVID-19 and other developments in the financial system, but no campaign to explain how we will tackle with this new challenge. It was not there when the campaign for election was up, but it has now come into the environment. Now, leadership must stand up and lead and explain and go along with the people, because good governance is not just for the party in power, the party in opposition, and the people to whom government owes good governance. Now, I think with regards to the leadership and the orientation of the youth, in the modern climate in which we have found ourselves, the youth stand out, but it includes female and male youth. It also includes the hosts of unemployed, qualified people and unemployed, untrained people, and children not given the opportunity to be in school. These are challenges of governance. But government has upon its basic responsibility the protection of life and property. We find insecurity means no protection of life and property, where hoodlums are taking over. And the administration of life and property devolves on government, and in our own instance, we have a constitution that provides that land belongs to the people. but vested in government, in trust. What it really means is that the people must rely on government in administration of land to be fair and to make the laws that governs the enjoyment of land, which is very basic. It has remained an act in the Constitution, which I believe is a misnomer. It ought to be corrected. And one of the fundamental bases on which society feels secure is ownership of property on land, not in the air, particularly indigenous communities and our farming communities. They must have that sense of security to land and to territory, which, again, I find that in our present orientation and governance, it seems to be a foundation for advancing corruption, because most of the corruption we find in the system involves the ordering or misordering of land administration, where it is expected to be a foundation of security. Those who are rich today, they examine their conscience. They will know that they have climbed on prosperity in the abuse of authority on land. So I think the leadership question is so critical, is so diverse, but it should not stand alone. The president cannot stand alone. He has a party, he has a community, he has people who should be driving him to do the right thing, not driving him to exploit his position. This is a hard time. It's very difficult to really put a thumb on it. But I think that the orientation of society, the education, the values of the society that should be used in advancing the stability and growth of the polity must be addressed. You cannot have leaders in the Senate who are accused of being crooks by a former inspector general, and the thing just died there. You cannot have leadership of, say, a governor, tried for 20 years, convicted, but for some technicality, he goes back as if nothing happened. So we have to entrench values that will mold us together and give us faith and hope that we will bequeath a sensible, dynamic, and progressive society in Nigeria. So leadership is fundamental, but the system by which leaders are sustained or are brought into the system as leaders must be cohesive within the system itself, both social and economic. You don't have leaders, economic leaders, who play the role of being shareholders and threaten the depositors' fund by taking the assets of the bank. End up with all the assets in AMCON. And if you find it, maybe 1 or 2% of the so-called leaders of society are involved. Government has to sit up and regularize. That's a challenge.
Thank you, General IBM Haruna. It seems the picture looks really gloomy here. Looking at what you are going through, one at a point gets confused about exactly where to start picking up from. But all the same, it boils down to the fact that there are lots of deficits here, deficit in honesty, leadership, and whole lots of them. Everything is just out there for us to look at, and then shall we be able to put the puzzles together and get something better out of it. We will continue our discussion right after this break, and we'll talk about these deficits, and then see how trust, honesty, sincerity have become so much of a problem to us, and then being values we should really uphold. Stay with us. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, Let's build our nation together.
Like every mother, I'm worried about dangerous insects, especially mosquitoes, which spread diseases like malaria to my loved ones. This year, I'm not afraid. I'm using New Mortein Insta-Kill. New Mortein Insta-Kill's improved formulation knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster. Not even a single mosquito is spared because even one mosquito bite can cause malaria. Mortein Insta knocks down mosquitoes 2 times faster.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
Sheffield United only have their pride to play for when Crystal Palace visit this Saturday. On the Premier League Live is Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
Welcome back. We're talking about forging a common front for national cohesion. And we have in the house here, guests who have been discussing this with. As we continue, Ambassador, Keshi, the deficits, how much? I was discussing with an elder statesman some time ago. He said he witnessed the war, he saw it, and he went through it, and Nigeria, of course, came successfully out of it. The trust during the war time, to him now as he feels it, is much more than now when there is no war in this country. Trust between people in this country has gone down to the lowest ebb. And so goes with sincerity and honesty. I mean, when we talk about insecurity, these are all fallouts that we are now facing and lamenting about. How do you look at this scenario? Why did we really lose track and don't find ourselves in this situation?
I think it's been long in coming. And as I said earlier, it's more like the successive failure of leadership to develop the country. Again, I go back to what the elder statesman told you. Despite the war and post-war, I think we were more united for so many years, perhaps until June 12th, and subsequently from there, so many things just started to snowball. But the point I keep making is that even from then, no leader came up to say, we need to bring you back from the edge. If you look before the the military intervened, you know, and by the way, complicated our lives, with due respect, sir. The political leaders of the 60s, when they get to the edge, they come together and begin to pull back. Today in this country, and as the military did too, it's like we don't give a damn. We can actually fall off the cliff. So be it. So the absence of people that will say, look, put a break. Let's honestly begin to find a way out. Let's begin to address, look, this, you know, what irritates or what makes me angry is that what we are discussing is not rocket science. What does it take to be fair to somebody?
The solution has always been there.
What does it fair to be just? The Constitution is very, very clear. People with this regime, from day one, people started protesting against the nature and the character of appointments made by the regime. At that point, the first day, shouldn't it have been a change to say, okay, I hear the people, let me change. Instead, it's been consolidated. And the tragedy of all this is that even those appointed to various parastatals have also decided to follow the leadership style by making their institutions look like their local village and not making the institutions look like Nigeria. Again, I go back. People talk of the people. For goodness sake, it's not the people. It is the leadership. If the leadership creates a dynamic that is all-embracing, that opens up the door to everybody, that mobilizes the people for a common goal, that inspires. Today, the leadership is uninspiring. That inspires people. As a young man, and I'm sure many of you, one of the things that inspired us growing up was the inaugural address of President John Kennedy. And there have been subsequent great leaders who have spoken, like Martin Luther King and so on. I make the point again, who is inspiring us in this country? Who is rallying us? Everybody that speaks of his own ethnic group and tribe. We must do this. You must give us this. You must give us that. And all this because, as the general said, we are unable to manage our diversity. Okay. And this is just because the leaders are selfish.
Ambassador Kashi, thank you very much. Let's go very quickly back to Lagos Network Studios with the former Deputy Governor of Lagos. One of the points that Ambassador Kashi has just touched on, he earlier said it has to do with the fact that when you look around, there appears to be no one or a group rallying the people. Earlier, General IBM Haruna did talk about the fact that we're not getting Nigerians to be driven by certain cohesive sentiments. I just wondered, again, from the point of view of a political leader or a business class or all that, because we are all impacted by the current symptoms of what we are seeing, namely insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and violent crimes, and all the so-called calls for dismemberment. What can each of the individual groups do? I know that there are calls for national summits and all the capacity thing, but in the various communities, in the various states, there are leaders to say, look, what is going on should not and cannot continue, that we cannot surrender to hoodlums and those who want to make life uncomfortable for us, not just by mere force, but to say, look, how do we solve our national and therefore local and societal problems?
Very much. A lot has to be said for attitudinal changes. When Nigerians get to position of power, pride comes into it. people don't want to relate to the people, to the constituency that got them into power. And this is part of where Nigerian problem, is vested in. You have leaders that are actually not leaders, that are just there for their own selfish ends. You have politicians who go around promising heaven and earth, and as soon as they get elected into office, they don't even live in that community anymore. People have to beg to have access to them. Nigeria has become a place where pride and prejudice reign. We need to change. There is need for a lot of reorientation. Our values need to be addressed. We have people in office who should not even have been on the ballot papers. We have, because this is a topic that is very close to my heart. I don't know why we stopped teaching history in our schools. Because if they are teaching history and contemporary history, there are so many people in public life now, and people pushing themselves into our faces that should not even be able to hold their heads up in public at all. But Nigeria has become anything goes. And this has now gone down to our children. Our children now, to tell them that one behavior is bad, they will point to you, somebody in a high office who has done something worse than what they are doing. We are talking about General Laruno. Thank you, sir. I'm so happy I'm listening to you this morning, because even though the military formed part of the problems we're in, because you had recruits that started suddenly building houses all over the place with no, I'm not trying to, to cast blame on anybody. But we are all in this situation. You have people who have already made themselves so comfortable. They don't care whether Nigeria dies today or Nigeria is up. And they are still in the system. They have passports and they have dual citizenship. They are ready to pick up and go after spoiling this nation. So we all need to come together and say this is our country and it must not die. It must not be disintegrated. And it starts with the community. We have obas that are toothless bulldogs. They cannot control anything in their vicinity because the people know they have no power. You have the police who should protect you, who is also part of your problem. The government sent up a national reorientation office that should have a widespread, a full agenda of going around the country, doing visuals and all that of what proper behavior should be. Nobody is funding them. Bad behavior has taken over every aspect of Nigeria. Whoever is on the right now, whoever is saying what the holy books should say, is the one, say you should do, is the one that is in the wrong. And you are a minority. And if you are not careful, you are going to be, extinct. You are going to be somebody whom tomorrow they've done away with. Everybody who is good are trying to survive. To say, don't let me say it. Because there are assassins out there. There are hired assassins out there that can take people out at any time. And you're talking about, when our present president got into office, I'm one of those who put my life on the line that he must get there. Because I was expecting some drastic actions Instead, the people we are trying to do away with their ways that are not okay for the nation, for our children, they are the ones that got nearer to him. And now we're in the situation that we are. These same people now are going back to now want to topple the government, because he started dealing what he should have done when he first got there. Curb the corruption, put people right, the banking sector, the people who have been in government, who have stolen, who have looted the nation dry. Join APC to be clean. Join this party and your sins are forgiven. No, we have to, you know, try and get, you know, we are all going around it, you know, being theoretical. We are not actually saying it as it should be. Ambassador, I'm very, you know, you are highly intelligent, but let's call a spade a spade. I'm a woman, and I have no other country to go to. I refuse to take second citizenship anywhere. Let us make Nigeria the Nigeria that we want, and it's not difficult. We just have to call these people out and let them know we know you. You are not good for this nation.
Okay, thank you so much, Senator Ojikutu.
Do the right thing. The people around him, they should be told, you know, somebody, one of my eminent pastors, call them the gatekeepers. They should be told they are leading this country into abyss. When the herdsmen's problem started, they were told, they said is no problem. Now it has become a national malaise. We should nip it in the bud. Nigeria is on the edge of a precipice. Let us don't let it fall into it. And it's not by disintegration. Let each region be able to succeed. And then let the central hold the power and protect everybody. As it is now, everybody wants to go away. Where are we going to? Together we are strong. When we have disintegrated, you know, any little thing can destabilize.
Oh, thank you, Senator Ojikutu, former Deputy Governor of Lagos State. Ambassador Obizowa Shimelu, you are a leader of a social-cultural organization. One other thing which Ambassador Keshi said here is that Nigerians don't have somebody to look up to that will take them, you know, off the brink and then bring them to the center again and then see how things will get better once again. We're heading towards separate directions, and leaders are just, you know, looking at themselves from their own local enclaves. As a social, you know, as a leader of a social cultural organization, you're one of them. What do you think should be done at that level, social cultural organizations, in order to pull Nigeria and Nigerians from the brink which you are headed to now?
Thank you very much. Just like Ambassador spoke, we have deficit in leadership, no doubt about it. But the major challenge is that our institutions are very weak. Our guests in Lagos talk about the politicians who come to power ought not to have been in ballot papers. I listened to her very carefully. If our institutions are strong, the INEC supposed to have, if we have a process that is very clean, that produce candidate and the political elite, we won't have been where we are today. The politicians don't care about the people because they know that after 4 years, they'll come to the people and share rice and beans and tell them that they are going to do the best. And the people do not have confidence in the electoral process. For goodness sake, if we have to get the country right, The institution must be strengthened. The INEC must be given a massive, enormous power to independently handle the process of electoral process. People believe that their vote don't count. Imagine in the electoral election day, you see people playing ball on the field, because if you ask them, they say, no, I don't need to vote. Even if you vote, you don't vote, your vote doesn't count. They don't believe in the process. And what we're talking about, institution, look at the state government. We have 3 tiers of government under this federal system: federal, states, and local government. We now produce an emperors as state governors who sit down in comfort of their government house and order instruction here and there. They don't respect the lack of rule of law. I think in past few months, the president issued the executive order that there should be local government autonomy. There should be a House of Assembly autonomy. The state government have pocketed the House of the legislative organ of the government in the various states.
Ambassador Obizo, but we're running short of time. Briefly, what do we need to do to enhance national cohesion? Maybe in 30 seconds or thereabout.
Justice, equity, and fairness. Once justice, equity, and fairness is instilled in our day-to-day activity between the government and the people, then the national cohesion we're talking about can naturally fall in place. Nobody wants to leave Nigeria. Like I say, I'm in Nigeria, and I believe in the project Nigeria. So that's why we are galvanizing our people. That's why we are legitimately constituted as a registered organization, a registered body. We are working assiduously with our people, reaching out to the people, going to the grassroots, mobilizing our people, sensitizing them, giving them good direction on where to go. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Chiemelu, thanks a lot. It's that we are getting pressed for time, and there are weighty issues that you have all raised today. But I want to just get the closing thoughts at this time of General IBM Haruna. Listening to you, you've spoken from your background as a military officer, background as an elder statesman, background as a lawyer, and background as a public information manager. One of the comments that you made has to do with driving the sentiments of Nigerians, and I would say, therefore, driving the positive sentiments of Nigerians towards national cohesion. What can we do in this respect?
Well, I think that the 3 arms of government should be freed from their stagnation in pursuing public policy. They know the priorities. They must work on getting democracy right. The judiciary should be released so that they can work within the concept that is embedded in the Constitution. Or the legislature should make sure that they pass such laws that the judicial arm will function. And thirdly, of course, let the leadership of the presidential system, executive, perform to their promise.
Yeah, thank you so much, IBM Haruna. Lastly, Ambassador Keshi, what's your final, take on this issue?
Because we have a presidential system, I can only pray and urge the leaders to do a deep introspection, to reflect about the state of the nation and whether they want this nation to collapse under them. It is not just one leadership, but the leadership across the board. Even the heads of national institutions. Do they want this country to collapse? If they do not want this country to collapse, then there's a need for a change of direction, change of dynamics, and let them see the whole country as one and go back to what we did under the Gawan regime, one indivisible country that we all love so much. Thank you.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, former Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and a regular guest in Good Morning Nigeria, would like to appreciate you for your contribution to this very significant discussion today.
Thank you.
We also would like to thank Ambassador Obizoba Chiemelu, who is Director General of Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide. Thanks a lot for being our guest this morning.
It's my pleasure.
And our deep thanks also to Major General IBM Haruna. Of course, he's a lawyer and former federal minister in charge of information. They were called federal commissioners in those days, before 1979. IBM Haruna, pleasure always having you.
Thank you.
And you're a great fan of the program, by the way. Thanks a lot for being around, and thanks a lot also for your very useful suggestions. In Lagos, we were joined by the former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Her Excellency Alhaja Shinotu Ojikutu. Thank you very much for the comments that you have made and the clear recognition that we have to get out of our current situation. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria. All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We appreciate your tuning in. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, remember, Nigeria is ours and we have to rescue it. The solution lies within. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And of course, we don't have any other way to go. It's here. This is the home. I'm Yusuf Adabu Usman. See you tomorrow.
The center of excellence. A tropical city surrounded by the turquoise Atlantic Ocean, a bounty of natural beauty with miles of pristine beaches, rich culture, and amazing people. Come and enjoy what Africa's fastest growing city has to offer. Explore a city with fantastic historical past and an even brighter future. Today is only the beginning. So much lies ahead. See tomorrow. One Lagos.
service of the NTA.
We're delighted to have you join us on this fresh episode of Sports Free from the Nigerian Television Authority, the Africa's largest television network. On the program today, we are going to examine grassroots basketball development. We will bring you updates in the world of football, basketball, volleyball, and other sporting events across the states of the Federation. My name is Olumide Guntola. I assure you that today's program is going to be interesting after this time out. Let's begin with the UEFA Champions League. Gift George spoke with some football fans about the outcome of the two semi-final matches.
Man City and Chelsea are the two best teams in this year's UCL. For Man City, they won 11 games on a bounce. That is massive for me. For Chelsea, they've shown that they can score goals as well as defend. It's going to be a cracker of a final in Kiev.
Nobody give Chelsea a chance at all. Like the knockout stage of against Atletico Madrid, nobody give Chelsea a chance. Against Porto, nobody give Chelsea a chance. Coming to Madrid, when they went to Madrid, they say, Madrid will beat them. See what they did to Liverpool. But Chelsea succumb and win them. So when they come back now to Chelsea's house, Chelsea win them. Outright play.
Against Real Madrid, they were wasteful, but they were still able to get a 2-goal win. Very tough. The final is going to be very tough. We don't forget that Chelsea eliminated Manchester City in the FA Cup semi-final. So the Guardiola boys are going to be coming for a revenge. And they've never won the Champions League. Chelsea have won it once. So it's going to be a very, very tough battle between both sides.
Back home in Nigeria, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has urged the newly inaugurated caretaker committees of Sports Federation to ensure podium performances by the nation's athletes at the forthcoming Olympics Games.
Following the recent dissolution of the boards of the 30 national sports federations, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has inaugurated caretaker committees of the various sports federations in Abuja with a mandate to manage the affairs of the federation until fresh elections are conducted, and also to work at modalities for the forthcoming Tokyo Olympics.
The solution became necessary because of the expiration of their tenures. It is also important because the Tokyo Olympics, which is less than 90 days away, and which not only requires that all hands are on deck, but also because continuity is necessary to ensure preparations for the Games are not hampered in any way. The caretaker committees are thus specially selected to reflect our aspirations towards podium appearances at the Tokyo Olympics. This is not the time to play politics, but the time towards putting Nigeria among the medals winner in Tokyo, Japan.
The minister stressed that he will not hesitate to remove any caretaker committee members that does not perform well. Speaking on behalf of the caretaker committees, the chairman, Basketball Federation, Musa Kida, asserted that it is an opportunity for them to set a benchmark for the Olympics.
With the new arrangements, meaning that now caretaker committees, there's 3 of us managing basketball now in the country. It then means that we're much leaner. I'm sure we'll be more efficient. I'm sure decisions will be very quick to arrive at, and we should be able to really go as fast as possible in terms of the preparations that we're making for the Olympics.
I'll continue with my duties as I have done for the past almost 8 years. Wrestling has put ourselves in a position to maybe probably in the best position to win a medal at the Olympics, and I think we will just continue to intensify those efforts.
Members of the caretaker committees are expected to prepare athletes for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics for those that have qualified. In Abuja, Omoyemi Onubum.
Talking basketball now, the Nigeria's representative at the forthcoming Basketball League, Rivers Hoopers, are presently in Kigali, Rwanda for the maiden edition of the tournament. Gift George had a chat with the team before departure.
After 1 week of intensive training in Lagos, 13 players, which includes 9 local and 4 foreign-based players, as well as 5 officials from Rivers Hoopers, made the trip for the inaugural Basketball Africa League. The tournament is a joint effort of the NBA and FIBA to create a platform for elite players across Africa to showcase their talent alongside homegrown stars on the same platform.
It's a great opportunity for a Nigerian club side to be participating in the inaugural edition of the Basketball Africa League. The options are limitless. It's going to be something that's covered by the NBA. It's going to be on ESPN. The players have the opportunity to showcase their talents, and who knows where that next phone call is going to come from for them to go and apply their trades outside Nigeria. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for club sides in Africa and Nigeria in particular, because after now, every other team will be striving to be part of the Basketball Africa League.
Nigeria's representatives, Rivers Hoopers, have been drawn in Group A alongside Patriots of Rwanda, Gendarmerie Nationale of Madagascar, and US Monastir of Tunisia.
Great opportunity to continue to push the game of basketball forward in Nigeria. You have the youth here in Nigeria and all over Africa that have now a platform where they can look forward to.
12 African teams will compete in 2 conferences after 5 games to produce the Super 6, from where the Final 4 will emerge. Nigeria's 3-time champions, Rivers Hoopers, believe they have all it takes to go far at the tournament.
We're not just going there to participate. We are going there to make a mark. And making a mark is just taking one game at a time. Everybody's coming there to win. Everybody's coming there to beat Rivers Hoopers, just like as we are leaving Nigeria to go there and beat everybody that is there. But we have to take it one game at a time.
It's a big task ahead, but trust me, we're going to do our best. Though for a while, we've not really played any competitive game in Nigeria for a while. But trust me, we're going to do our best as much as we can.
The Basketball Africa League is scheduled for the 16th to the 30th of May 2021 at the Kigali Arena in Rwanda. In Lagos, Gifts George, NTA Sports.
Still on basketball, Team Lagos have emerged the champions of the Rising Stars Basketball Championship held in Akure, Ondo State. The tournament was organized by ex-international Olumide Oyedeji.
6 teams drawn from the southwestern states of Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti states participated in the 5-day competition comprising 3 matches and 4 quarters. Team Lagos and Oyo slugged it out in the final round of the competition. At the end of the game, Lagos basketball team recorded 73 points, while Oyo recorded 70 points.
For so many years right away now, the children have been training without competition.
I have to appreciate my boys. They try their best.
Sometimes in sports, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Winning this MVP trophy is a really great thing, and I'm proud of it.
Organizer of the championship says his intention is to assist the young sports enthusiasts achieve their dream.
I decided to have this tournament to encourage the younger players and also to empower them to have a life skills and for them to give them opportunity to play a game of basketball that all what they love.
In Akure, Abiola Rio.
Joining me on our discussion segment this week is an ex-international and an Olympian, Olumide Oyedeji. Olumide, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here.
The program is Sports Free. All right, let's start this way. What is exactly the state of grassroots basketball in Nigeria?
I can say that grassroots basketball in Nigeria can be more than what it is right now with the kind of level of the players, the population that we have in this country. So, not really happy with it, which we have to be really be honest with ourselves. The part of what is hindering the situation is all this factionalized basketball in the country. So I believe we can put our house in order, we'll be together, and everybody can channel their energy into one cause. So, I mean, for me, we can be better than what we are now. But despite the fact that we're getting talent every day, to get a talent in the population of a 210 or something million is a piece of cake. So hopefully we can all stay focused and think about the game and go back to the root. I haven't really seen any much under 12, under 16, secondary school basketball and local leagues. So all those things what attached to the grassroots basketball development. So we can get our house in order, do what we need to do. It can be a lot better than what it is right now.
We've seen a lot of talent hunt initiative across the country. These initiatives, are they actually living up to expectations?
I mean, we've seen quite, but we can see more, but not a lot of it. Different basketball camps. I could say that discovering talent, and I could say kudos to all the local coaches, the young talented coaches here and there. But despite the fact that they're having everything in the grassroots with the local coaches, there are still other negative aspects of it, like just selling these young boys and girls at the early, going to where there's no destination, that don't really the future, but just want to leave this country. But I can't blame them. So I think a lot of things can be done. We can control these and we can keep having talent. Just like look at the NBA draft last year. Well, we're talking about say we have a 9 Nigerian, 8 Nigerian. I believe only 2 were born in Nigeria. Nevertheless, that is still that's the good numbers. So we have to think about what we need to do to maximize our potential through our population by having a right program and having the program that can be structured and monitored so that these young players, boys and girls, can be more successful and they can do more for themselves rather than just, boom, just leave them out there. So the grassroots is important. These are things that we need to do. And I believe with the way we are going now, we have to do a better job.
Presently, do we have any national grassroots competition among students?
No. I think the only thing we have right now is Milo, which is a secondary school. But we can still see the individual state camps, clinics all over everywhere that they try to do this. But we don't have any national this thing right now, no, except Milo, or secondary school. So you could see I run my camps. I just have an under-16 basketball tournament, which I'm going to go all over the country. Or Jordan Worak is coming. You have Abuja City League. You have all those other ones. We have people left, right. This under-18, under-16, or 14 coach. Lagos State having Last Giddy under-17 basketball tournament. So I believe we're having here and there, but to enhance the talent together to come for the national one, I don't think we have had that for years.
Now, what do you think can be done to actually harmonize all these competitions?
I mean, better structure, better organization, better administrator. I think we need, this basketball is a team game. We need team cohesion. The way forward is to go back to drawing board. So go back to drawing board, and with all this internet, with all this social media, it's all so adds to that. Because in Nigeria we're not running professionalism. Sorry, we're not running professionally. So we're not professional in our league. So maybe if we have to start running professional league when the players start again making money, at least to survive and to take care of the family, take care of themselves. That, if you're playing basketball in Nigeria, you can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can buy a land, you can do something for your wife, for your children, put them in a good school. Now it's going to get better, but because about 85% of Nigerian basketball players that played in Nigeria, they want to go to college. So they can't play pro. If you play pro and you get paid, you have lost your amateur status. So that was kind of just the little factors, but you see Nigerian players that just started playing basketball today, The next thing, boom, they're in Japan. Boom, they're in Taiwan. Boom, they're in Philippines. So they were not wrapped enough or not learned enough. So that's why when you get out of the country, you can't see, you barely heard about that. But before I left Nigeria, yes, I was here, played basketball here. I was a student at OAU. I finished OAU, and I went to World University Games in 1997 in Sicily. And at that time, I was in Nigeria. I was one of the best players in the world at the World University Games. This is what I was playing in Nigeria. I led the World University Games in rebounding, in points, and I was among the best 5. But we can't get that one in Nigeria right now.
Why?
Why? Because of the system. Because of the system. Because at that time, Nigerian league was so competitive. And if I could even lie to you, I wasn't even good enough to make my university team. So that was how competitive it was. I have to stay at the sideline, I was like, just clapping. So you can see, I remember 1991, Nuga, Ife, OAU, that was like the old gym at Ilorin Stadium was packed. You couldn't even hear the name man behind you. It was so electrified. It was awesome. Really, really, really great. You were like, these are gone in the past. So that was why I say, let's go back to drawing board.
All right. Let me ask you this: how do we produce basketball stars like you and some of those names you mentioned earlier?
How do we produce them? The better competition, better exposure, better training, and a good practice facilities. So at the same time now, everybody that play basketball now try to get something out, at least to try to get something. But we have to understand, like 85% of the people who actually go into sports, they see it as a source of livelihood and the way to get out of poverty. So I was one of it. And now, so I can tell you from the fact that now there should be a way where we have to combine one or two things together and try to talk to players for them. We need more career talk, more motivational speak for them to be to plan to have a plan. So because right now we don't have anything. So if you can have these, we talk to them, and we have a better structure, we have a better organization, we have a better leadership, we have a better grassroots, we have a gym, we have a facility, we have facility, better coaching, and making that's going to make the atmosphere to be a little bit more conducive. It doesn't need to be the best. So for us to get to a place where American is, I don't see it happen in 10, 20 years. That's just the truth. So, how many gyms we even have in Lagos? Even in old Nigeria, that standard gym, 0. So that's part of one of the problems.
All right, you have recently organized a basketball event in Akure, a Rising Star basketball tournament. What is actually the brain behind this tournament?
The actual brain behind the tournament is what you just mentioned earlier on, which is grassroots development. Because we haven't had anything for years. So, and coming out there, my foundation came up with a different programs. I had a intercollegiate basketball championship. I had a Bright Future Leadership and Empowerment program. I had a No Borders basketball camp, which is bringing 80 kids out of West Africa to come together to learn to do stuff. All this was what we had that I had. So, and look around, like you see the young ones just really, they don't have enough things to just do. So I decided to have the under-16 basketball tournament, catch them young, at the same time be another way of skill, like a life skills program. So during the time when we were there, but before then, the basketball and skill and life skills, mentoring and developing them. So, which is part of why I just say, this is one of the critical time or critical stage of the basketball career. This is why the players started forming, to give them that platform, to give them an opportunity, and to put a smile on their faces, and so they can have a sense of belonging. So that was one of the reasons why I have to do that.
All right, so what are the takeaways from that tournament?
Take it for that tournament, at least I've seen about 5, 6, 7 future stars. You know, I saw a player just started playing basketball 5 days before then, and I could see the team like Ekiti State. They lost with about 70 points to Lagos State. As the time progressed, they kept getting better and better and better and better and better and better. So you could see that showed that we need more tournament like this, and the players is getting better. So tell me if they can play about 20 to 40 games out of this one in a year, how those players is going to be, what will happen. So what I could take out from this, like, we need more of this. So that's why I decided that after that, Akure, I'm going to go to Asaba then to Enugu to Ilorin or Abuja then to Jos, so then to Kano, Kaduna, before I ran it up.
Lagos, right?
Oh, well, let's see how they go, because everything I've been doing all over, I've been completely self-funded.
Olumide, we thank you for coming on this program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And that is our discussion segment for this week. Sports Free will return after this time out. Stay tuned. For more stories on Sports Free for today, let us join our correspondents.
Archery is the art, sport, or skill of using a bow to shoot arrows, and the word comes from the Latin word arcus for bow. Historically, archery has been used for hunting and combat, and over time evolved in modern times to mainly a competitive sport and recreational activity.
Stand, and then it's only your hand, and then you turn your neck to look at the target.
It's an Olympic game that a lot of countries win medals. We are lagging behind as Nigerian and then Plateau State. And again, I discovered that our people on the plateau traditionally are hunters and farmers as well. So looking at the background to which this game is coming from, I think our people here on the plateau do better.
Archery, they say, is a game for all as it has no age limits. And for the newly created Archery Federation in the state, they are optimistic the game will attract prospective archers.
All age category do this game. You can do it indoor, you can do it outdoor. A lot of people are interested in this game, and we intend to go down to schools.
An archery enthusiast, Abdurrahman Abdul, and I both decided to give it a try.
I saw him with the bow and the set of arrows, and I'm always taking up challenges. I like to see new things, so I was wondering, how does it work?
For the Archery Federation, they hope to build a base of archers that will represent the state and nation at both national and international tournaments. In Jos, Ekemeren Kaneng Laduja.
The Confederation of African Football CAF has approved 7 venues for Nigeria's World Cup qualifiers. All these and more on our Titbits with Enejo Adiku.
The race for the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier starts in June for the 3 times African champions, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, as the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and FIFA approve 7 stadiums for Nigerians' home games. The stadiums are Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu, Moshood Abiola National Stadium Abuja, Adoki Amese Emeka International Stadium in Port Harcourt. Others include the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba, the Slim Balogo Stadium in Lagos, Samuel Ogomedia Stadium in Benin, and Akwa Ibom International Stadium in Uyo. The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) will decide which of these stadiums will host the 3 home games. Riyad Mahrez is only the 2nd player to score in both legs of a Champions League semi-final for an English club after Sadio Mane did for Liverpool in 2017-18 season, as Manchester City reached their first Champions League final.
It's going to spin out to Mahrez now, and it's tucked home!
PSG is the 3rd team to receive a red card in both legs of a Champions League semi-final tie, after Deportivo vs Porto in 2003-2004 and Lyon vs Bayern Munich in 2009-2010 season. Italian cyclist Spreadfico Medfico has been banned for 3 years by Cyclist World Governing Body after testing positive for an appearance-enhancing substance at last year's Giro d'Italia. 28-year-old Sprefico returned 2 adverse analytical findings for enobosarm on 15 and 16 October 2020. Ostarinine is a prohibited substance on the World Anti-Doping Agency list. It is suspended until October 2023. The Billie Jean King Cup final must find a new home after the International Tennis Federation terminated its contract with the host city, Budapest. This year's event has been postponed until the end of the season, leaving the ITF a small window to secure a host in very uncertain times. As the ITF tries to safeguard the future of the 58-year-old competition, which until recently was known as the Fed Cup. In Lagos, Enojo Adiku for NTA Sports.
And that is Sports 3 for today. We do thank you for watching. Until we come your way again, God bless Nigeria. Keep on supporting sports.
Lagos, the center of excellence. A tropical city surrounded by the turquoise Atlantic Ocean, a bounty of natural beauty with miles of pristine beaches, rich culture, and amazing people. Come and enjoy what Africa's fastest growing city has to offer. Explore a city with fantastic historical past and an even brighter future. Today is only the beginning. So much lies ahead. See tomorrow. One Lagos.
Nigeria, our great nation with vast and rich land. Our people are strong and united. Our founding fathers, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and a host of others bequeathed us a united, peaceful and prosperous Nigeria. Let us honor them by living in peace with one another. Let us eschew violence, ethnic profiling, and religious bigotry. We must avoid hate speech and other forms of derogatory words against our fellow Nigerians. Let our differences in tribes, culture,
Federal government promises distribution of CBN's free prepaid meters to begin soon. On tax evasion, Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) plans direct deductions from defaulters' bank accounts. Bill Gates gets restored to billionaires list, and crude near $70 this Thursday. The program is Business Express, and we're reaching you on the network service of the NTA. My name is Leah Katung Babatunde. We begin the business of the day by informing you that the Federal Executive Council has approved over $8.28 billion, as well as $3.01 billion for the execution of various contracts aimed at upgrading the nation's power infrastructure for effective service delivery to consumers. The Minister of Power, Salim Mamman, announced these while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Minister also said the distribution of the 4 million free electricity prepaid meters pledged by the Central Bank of Nigeria will soon begin across the country. The CBN had promised to augment the government's effort to distribute free prepaid meters with additional 4 million pieces.
And supply of critical spare parts for chromosomes, grapes, 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV circuit breakers in the sum of 298,339,887 naira. And the second one is the award of the contract for the procurement of 50 sets of 400 AH battery banks, 30 to 50 volts, and 30 number of 110 volts battery chargers for the substation used by the TCM in the sum of 644,805,953 naira 10 kobo. All this procurement is geared towards upgrades of the transmission system to the national grid, so that we are going to have a sufficient power supply to the.
The federal government says it has provided 100% funding to budgeted allocations for the armed forces in the country. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed stated these at a Senate committee hearing in Abuja. She explained that what the ministry is providing for the armed forces is not enough, but has so far approved all budgeted allocations to the armed forces, adding that the president puts premium on the welfare and equipment for the military.
And when you look at the details, you find that the request is made through the Ministry of Defense by the Defense headquarters, and they detail out how each of these funds is going to be used. So it's initiated by the ministry, by the defense, it goes to the president, he approves, we release what is based on what is approved. We don't have any view of the actual utilization of this. What we are doing is releasing the funds.
We have agreed to work together
so that when the supplementary budget comes before the National Assembly, it will not be a strange document.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, says it has served public notices to defaulters that the service plans to recover taxes due from the defaulters' assets in the custody of any person, including but not limited to some standing to its credit with a financial institution in Nigeria. A notice signed by the executive chairman of the FIRS, Mr. Mohammed Nami, indicates that all companies, corporate entities, and other agents of collection stated are required to pay all outstanding tax liabilities to the FIRS within 30 days from the date of publication of the notice, or risk having all outstanding taxes deducted directly from their bank accounts or statutory allocations, or have their other assets seized by the FIRS and turned over to the government of the Federation in lieu of the withheld taxes. Experts say more than two-thirds of licensed microfinance banks, MFBs, in Nigeria may close shop if they fail to meet the recapitalization deadline, the first threshold of which is due by the end of April. Of the 874 licensed MFBs, about 612 may be affected, although the final deadline will be in 2022. These banks were established to meet the financial needs of Nigeria's low-income earners. Considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on economic activities, Central Bank of Nigeria in 2020 revised the deadline for compliance with the minimum capital requirements for microfinance banks by 1 year. How will these affect micro, small, and medium enterprises, who are the mainstay of the economy, and in the long run, financial inclusion? Our guest to look at this issue is Ayode Ebo, an economist at Chapel Hill, Denham, and he joins me from Lagos. Ayo, you're welcome to Business Express.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Great. Perhaps we start by hearing from you the basic functions of microfinance banks in a country like Nigeria with a target of reaching majority of them banked.
Okay, thanks. I'm from the word micro, so it's the major responsibility of the microfinance bank is to provide banking services to the retail or to the low-end segment of Nigeria. So you have the rural area, and also you see most dense area where commercial banks are unable to reach. So they are closer to the I would say they are closer to the lower end. So what they try to do is they understand the business that they do, they have access to them, and in terms of proximity, they are also available for the businessmen. So they control more of the informal sector in the country, and their structure for what they do. When you look at in terms of their function, they are able to the unbanked. They have been able to most of the unbanked are able to access banking through the microfinance banks, and also especially for credit, we've seen credits today from the banking microfinance sector increase from 2018 around 250 billion, and as of 2020 is currently around 500 billion. So we've seen that over time. So they bridge that gap where the commercial banks are unable to reach. They are also able to serve their purpose.
Now, 50 million now with less than 1 year to go. Do you think this is the right time for this recapitalization, considering the impact of the virus, which is still with us, amongst other things?
Okay, thank you. The first thing is we have about 900 microfinance banks in Nigeria, and there's sometimes when you have too many high number of firms, when you look at it from the perspective of regulations. So for the microfinance bank, they serve as a custodian to customers' deposits, and in terms of the customers needs to be protected. So, and when you see how the economy is evolving, the capital that you require for your business in the last 5 years is not what you require now. When you factor in inflation, factor in exchange rates. So I think it's important because there's a minimum. What the CBN is just trying to say is, you guys are taking, when you look at the loan you have been given over time, that has also increased. So you need more capital in case if there's a shock. How do you have that buffer? And how is our customers also protected? Yes, I think it was extended last year too. Deadline was supposed to be last year, but due to the COVID challenges, it was extended. Yes, maybe CBN may look at it and review it may not be up to a year this time, maybe for another 6 months, just for the pandemic or the economy to stabilize. But the fact is, based on our view, the fact is that there's a need to recapitalize. So what we would see is, within the microfinance segment, they have different licenses. So you have to accommodate the lower end, you have the tier 1, tier 2 units microfinance license, which the requirement for the tier 2, which is for the unbanked area, is 50 million, 35 million in 2021, then 50 million in 2022. For the tier 1 bank, which is for the unit area, so you have one location, and that is 100 million in 2021 and 200 million in 2022. Then you also have the states, which has been moved to about 1 billion that would be 1 billion in 2022, and you have for the national, which would be about 5 billion in 2022. So what we typically see is that we may see some of the microfinance bank now downgrade. So if you feel that you cannot continue as a state based on your business model, you may want to downsize and come down to a tier 1 unit bank. If you cannot sustain the tier 1 unit bank, you may come down to a tier 2 unit bank. Yeah, because as we progress, as you increase the number of loans, there may be shock. How you will need capital for you to be able to buffer, to absorb that shock, rather. So I think it's important that we need to be able to recapitalize. And as the numbers are growing, it will become a bit more tedious, more difficult, even for regulations. And the first thing, because it will still go back to the CBN, if you have more microfinance bank default, more microfinance bank unable to pay deposits, and Nigerians are losing their deposits, then it will still bounce back to the CBN, who has the oversight regulations, and I feel that's what the CBN is trying to do.
Okay, let me just come in here. I'm very happy with the breakdown you're giving there. How would this tell on those in the rural areas that depend largely on the services of MFBs?
Okay, thanks. I know we have within the banking, so we look at it within the banking space, we have what we call agency banking. So even if you have the unit microfinance bank in one location, let's assume in Lagos State, for instance, you may have agents. You may not have an office. You may have agents across the different locations, not a physical office, as agents that is helping you in terms of the services. So I think cutting across agency banking and also trying to see that you may not need to have those physical offices. So we see a lot of the microfinance bank that we have are unit microfinance bank, and it is based on the location where they operate. So for most of them, you are just expected, if you have a unit microfinance bank, so you choose the location, Lagos. So I think part of what to build capacity would need to see, we may begin to see, let's say, mergers amongst the unit microfinance banks, so that it will reduce their numbers. So if your capital before is 20 million and you have 20, why two of you can come together to meet up with the 50 million naira capital requirement? And to the rural areas, the customers, the little money they are making also needs to be protected. And with more capital, it also gives you that platform to be able to provide better services, which I don't think that the those in the rural area will be shortchanged. Rather, the services would improve. We saw that within the banking space in 2005, the consolidation. A lot of banks and was reduced to about, I think about 15 banks, if I can recall correctly, 15 banks then. And we saw them being able to do more with the capital. So I think that I don't see a situation where it would impact financial inclusion, which is where we're going.
Okay,
And,
great. Let me just come in here. We've also seen an increase in fintech, in small fintech companies, the startups that are offering most of these services. How do you see this imparting on the broader quest for financial inclusion?
Yes, a very interesting question you have asked, and we all know that technology is doing a lot in Nigeria, and we also have to adapt to that. So we know even in the rural area, for most of the microfinance banks that are riding more on fintech, you would discover that one, it reduces their costs. You don't need any physical building. You build a robust technology, and we can see what with the penetration of phones, even our grandmas in the village, they can operate their phones, they can call, they can read, they can send text messages. So you can ride on this. You don't need to have physical buildings or locations for some of them. Yes, we know there's still a transaction, but with agents, you're also able to do that because of the small volume of, with the small amounts that they handle. So I see technology also helping in terms of the financial inclusion. And the microfinance license would help to solve it. So you can have a unit microfinance license and you cut across Nigeria. So you have your location anywhere you wish to, but you're able to build a very robust platform that with those even in the rural area that may not even require internet to operate. You have the USSD code that you may also use to operate, sign open accounts, make transfers. And I believe that as we progress, we'll be able to see more of that. And riding on technology with what we've seen happening in the telecom sector, we believe that that will not impact on financial inclusion.
Okay, let me just add this last question before I let you go. There was the quest for 80% coverage, and then, of course, as it elapsed, we were able to record 64%. How would you rate that drive that has been put forward by the Central Bank of Nigeria?
Yes, sorry if I get the question correctly. In terms of the recapitalization, that they've been able to achieve 64%, or how is it in terms of financial inclusion?
Financial inclusion.
Yes, we know, yes, there's progress based on the data, but there's still a lot to do, which also now shows where the opportunity is. And for microfinance bank, they should be able to tap into the opportunity using technology, which would, one, reduce their costs. Yes, the capitalization, you may say it's a bit high, but it's required for them to be able to, they need resources to be able to build a good platform. So with 35 million naira capital requirements, is just to be sure that not just anybody is going into that business and customers' funds are saved. So I believe that we'll just continue to push with most of the telecoms. Telecoms have also applied for the mobile banking license. So when you see that, once they also get approval, they will also be able to penetrate the rural areas, which would also help. We saw that that model work perfectly in Kenya, and we believe that it's also possible to do that in Nigeria.
Okay, I think that will be a very nice place to encore this discussion. And I must sincerely thank you, IODG, for sparing your time with us this morning.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you. Do have a nice one. Business Express continues after this break. Please stay tuned.
Nursal Microfinance Bank wishes to inform the general public not to give money to anybody disguising as its staff or agent to secure the COVID-19 Targeted Credit Facility or AGS-MEIS loan. However, a training fee is charged by Accredited Entrepreneurship Development Training Institute, EDIs, for the training and business plan for the AGS-MEIS loan. Whenever you are in doubt, please call us at 0901-002-6905. If anyone has collected money to help you get the loan, please lodge a complaint on our whistleblowing portal by sending us an email on whistleblower@nmfb.com.ng. Nursal Microfinance Bank also wishes to inform the general public that the COVID-19 Targeted Credit Facility disbursed by our bank is a loan and beneficiaries must pay back with interest. The COVID-19 Targeted Credit Facility should not be misconstrued as a grant from the government. Call 094-621-730 or visit www.nmfb.com.ng for more information.
Now, many businesses in the country are still trying to stabilize after the COVID-19 came with various challenges. Just how affected is tailoring business? Blessing Eze tells a story on surviving COVID-19 today with Muplang Dakok.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Blessing Eze is physically challenged. Despite that and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, she is determined to grow her tailoring business. She says her passion for fashion, which she developed from childhood, keeps her going.
I like people where they dress well. I like if I see people wearing good clothes, wear better clothes. I they like and wear well. So when I finished secondary school, I reason now. When my sister asked me what do you want to do, you want to further your education, or do you want to go and learn work, or do you want to do hairdresser, or do you want to learn computer? I said I will go for the fashion design.
How is her business surviving?
I thank God, Sha. They are coming small. At least. It's not the money I used to make before I used to make now. But I know at the end of the month, I know how much I used to make, but now I'm not making reach that.
While many Nigerians are excited about the various funds by the Central Bank of Nigeria for small businesses like hers, Blessing is afraid to even apply.
The reason I do not apply is because I don't think whether I'll be able to make it where I am, the environment I'm living. But if the form is still available next year, I will go for it.
The pandemic has affected small businesses like hers. However, she has up to 4 apprentices and is hopeful about the future.
I wish that the COVID-19 will go so that things will be normal again. So that people who used to Soko will come back and start their business again.
And now, world shares and commodity prices held firm this Thursday as investors switched to cyclicals amid hopes of a strong economic recovery. Nekaoko has the numbers on global stock markets.
Stocks in Asia Pacific were mixed on Tuesday, with major markets in Japan and China still closed for holidays, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 0.66% as of its final hour of trading. Investors also continued to monitor the COVID-19 situation in India as it shows little signs of slowing down. The World Health Organization said last week that 1 in every 3 new coronavirus cases globally is being reported in India. European stocks advanced on Tuesday morning as investors monitored global recovery prospects and a fresh round of corporate earnings. The pan-European stocks 600 added 0.4% in early trade, with basic resources climbing 1.4% to lead gains as all sectors and major bourses entered positive territory. DAX rose 0.03%, FTSE 0.75%, and CAC 40 0.36%. Meanwhile, U.S. stock futures were flat in pre-market trading on Tuesday after a strong start to May as investors piled into shares that would benefit the most from an economic reopening. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average shed 46 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures both traded in negative territory. For Africa stocks, Namibia's overall index and South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 opened positive, while other stocks are yet to post figures as at the time of this report. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
Thank you, Boss Abel. Now, yuan weakens to 1 week low as market plays catch up with firmer dollars as the dollar hovered near a 2-week high on Thursday, consolidating ahead of a key U.S. jobs report. How is the Naira faring against these major currencies? Let's find out. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments, observations, suggestions, and questions. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag. It is BizEx. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can catch up with us on other social media platforms as well. Join us again Friday at 3 p.m. I am Leah Katung. Baba Tunde.
A nation of believers, a beautiful country steeped in rich tradition and colorful culture. Come and explore our diverse and breathtaking landscapes, cascading waterfalls, and exciting cities. Discover, learn, and enjoy our amazing heritage. Delight your palate with our delicious range of foods. Relax and be entertained by the biggest and best of music, arts, and films in Africa. We are beautiful. We are amazing. We are Africa's hidden gem, the heartbeat of Africa. We are Nigeria. Tour Nigeria and see tomorrow.
Kwatarunkwashi is an ancient town located on the eastern part of Bungudu local government area, about 12 kilometers from Gusau, the capital city of Zamfara State, Nigeria. The town is known as the town of rocks, walls, and eagles. It is home to the famous Kwatarunkwashi Rock, which is about 350 meters above sea level and has a massive landmass of about 1 square mile. Kwatarunkwashi Rock is a magnificent granitic rock formation with surrounding beautiful scenery that offers a natural ambience for relaxation and adventures. It is one of the most exotic rock formations in Nigeria with breathtaking shape and size. Historically, legend has it that some powerful spirits lived in the rock, thereby forcing hunters to settle around the foot of the rock. That was how Kwatankwashi town came to be. Settlers in the past used the rock for worship and performance of a ceremony called Dauka Maike, known as catching of the eagles, which used to live in the caves, and catching them was the main feature of Dauka Maike. A major feature of this magnificent formation are the caves where the locals used to hide during difficult battles. The biggest of these caves can hide 1,000 people. Another unique attraction of the rock is a natural spring that never runs dry all year round, providing cool, refreshing water for locals and tourists. The spring has a blend of everything: nature, history, and magic. If you desire an ideal place for excursion, hiking, picnics, sightseeing, and bird watching, visit Kwatankwashi Rock for an experience of a lifetime.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Good health and well-being, as well as quality education, which are encapsulated in Goals 3 and 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, remain top priority for the government of Nigeria as the global community intensifies efforts to achieve the SDGs and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In furtherance of this commitment, the federal government and President Muhammadu Buhari, through the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, has embarked on a massive construction of new classrooms blocks and renovation of existing facilities across the country.
For us to achieve goal 4 of SDG, which is qualitative education, we need to invest in the young people, invest in them today or their tomorrow, make the school conducive for them. Where there's need for more classroom, we build. Not only that we are building the classroom, we provide furniture, provide teachers for them. I'm sure that not less than 20 states are benefiting from different projects like this: school, youth center, vocational center, mother and child center, innovation of schools, construction of schools. There are many opportunities. We are in more than 20 states as we speak, doing one thing or the other, intervening where there is no. And where they say there's no school, we quickly go there. We know that COVID-19 has eroded, has limited our capacity last year. So we want to roll up our sleeves now to double our efforts to mitigate the effect of COVID-19 and make sure that all the school-age children that are out of school are back in school. And those that are in school are given a very conducive environment for learning. That's the only way we can get more, some of our children that are out of school back in school.
One of such facilities is the St. Michael's African Church Primary School 1 and 2 and Ansar Uddin Practicing School 1 and 2 in Ota, Ogun State, which was totally transformed by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals.
We have hundreds of young people here, and they are very happy. I see them that they are very happy in this new environment. You know, when they are in the environment that is conducive for education, they will be willing to learn. and they'll be happy to learn. So learning must be done in a very conducive way, and I'm proud, and as a mother, I'm very proud to be part of this and to be the initiator of this.
Established in 1947, the classrooms and other buildings in the 4 schools have become dilapidated over the years as a result of lack of maintenance. Indeed, most of the classrooms in the schools prior to the intervention of the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals were abandoned with the roofs blown off and falling walls. Agenda 2030 interactions with people in the area revealed that the poor state of the facilities had become a major disincentive to enrollment of pupils in the school.
When you were here before to supervise what is going on in this school, it is in a shabby position. That's how I can put it. But it is nothing to write home about. This school was barefooted. The classrooms are dilapidated. But now, when you come here now, you will know this is a very good environment and conducive environment for learning. And it's all about the transformation that comes up. If not, you cannot see all these our pupils. The population are so meager then. But now, in each of the classrooms, we have fan, we have seats, better seats. Compared to other schools, whereby they go bare floor like this to study. How can they study very well in such a situation?
It was in line with its interventions in the improvement and provision of education infrastructures across the country that the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals assumed responsibility for the rehabilitation of the school. The intervention covered construction of over 45 new classrooms, renovation of old ones, construction of staff room and school library, provision of furniture and fans for classrooms and staff rooms, provision of potable water, building of new toilets, and construction of sports pavilion and field. The interventions have resulted in a total turnaround of the schools.
When I first came here, the students are not up to 200. We have close to 1,000 students now because of this intervention. It means that when we do the right thing, then all of our children that are out there will back in school. So we'll continue to do that.
Before the renovation, the school was in a very, very bad position. But with the renovation, the school has been turned to a model school in which everybody around here, they always wish to bring their children here because of the new innovation that is on ground in the school. And with that, the standard of the school, the standard of the pupils has been raised from the previous standard to the new standard to meet up with the new innovation of the school. The school was put on ground in 1945, and since that time there have been some minor innovation on it. But this one that is on ground now, you can see this one as a major innovation which uplifts the standard of the school to the modern stage.
Speaking on the projects, head teachers and assistant head teachers of the schools appreciated the federal government and the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals for bridging life back to the schools. They noted that the schools which were in very bad shapes have experienced what can best be described as a 100% turnaround with the intervention of OSAP SDGs. The school heads also disclosed that the total transformation of the facilities and a new playground for the children has attracted more pupils to the various schools.
When we are talking of how the Michael
primary school when it looks before. In fact, the present situation that the school is now, I can say categorically 100% for what it is before. In the past, there's no much classrooms for the pupils. The pupils are many in which there is no space for them to no conducive classes for them. And now there's changes in all the classrooms, whether renovated or constructed. We have fan there, we have light there, in which, in fact, when we make use of our generator to pump water at times, and the pupils can see the fan working, they will be jubilating that, hey, we are in New London. And in fact, when we talk of how it is now, this town, Ota, it has changed the look of the town entirely. Because for this stadium alone, people are coming far and near to look at it, in which there's nothing like that before in the school. We have a playground that is just bare ground that our children used to play these different kinds of sports that they used to do in their school. Even when we are doing inter-house sport, that is how it is. But for this alone, this stadium, it has brought many people from far and near to come and see how does St. Michael looks like now. In fact, it is a new look entirely. As one of my teachers used to say, an assistant of my school, she used to call this place a small London because it has changed. All facilities that is on the ground, it is kudos to the madam, Mrs. Adefilure, and we pray that God will appreciate her more than we have done. We normally pray for her. In fact, a whole lot of time always pray for her for what she has done.
The way I met this school when I came was nothing to write home about, because all our classrooms are dilapidated. We have only 2 blocks that are good, with two classrooms that are good. But when we heard about what is going on in St. Michael practicing, in St. Michael AC School 1 and 2 Ota, now we find out the source of this progress. Then we heard that our mommy, Mrs. Adefulure Adejoke, is the brain behind the progress and success. Then our Oga, in person of Mrs. Osho Adetutu Kinde, wrote a letter to Mama Adefulure Adejoke just to ask for what we need in this school. She explained everything about the school, the problem we are facing as per classrooms, and Mama took our suggestion up. She came up and do something reasonable for us to and start really practicing school 1. Since this was started, people outside have been looking forward to see exactly who is the brain behind this success. They call our school mini London school now. Children are now coming in. Our registration has increased regardless of what we have before. Now, we see that we are now in good environment. The classroom are well conducive. Pupils can sit down conveniently on good seats. The classroom are furnished with a fan.
Speaking on the rehabilitation of the schools, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Her Excellency Princess Adejoke Orilokpe Adefulire, thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for making resources for executing projects towards improving the standards of education for Nigerians available. She said one of the ways to reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is to improve the learning environment. She said the OSAP SDGs will continue to support sub-national governments towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria.
I must thank President Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for the opportunity given to us and the good intention on education of our young people, as well as good health for everyone, and will continue to impact life. I pray that our leaders, God will strengthen them, God will continue to give them wisdom to pilot the affairs of Nigeria, and for these young people, God will make ways for them and take them higher.
I would like to appreciate the effort of Mr. President, that is President Muhammad Buhari, for bringing up this kind of innovation to go around most of the states. And I appreciate too Mrs. Adefulure for even bringing it to Ogun State, and most especially to Abuja, and particularly this school, because bringing it to Abuja may be another place, but we are very proud that we are beneficiary of the program being put in place by Mr. President through Mrs. Adefulure, who happened to be the SSA to the President in Abuja.
Our President, Alhaji Muhammad Buhari, God will help him, because in his tenure we can see what he has done. If not for him and the good things that is in other people that surround him, especially our madam, Mrs. Adefulure, that did all these things. If President did not support our madam, Mrs. Adefulure, there's nothing she can do. But because of the support that she has from the President, Alhaji Buhari, that is why all these things are put in place. And we pray that God will replenish him more. He will do more. He will live long to enjoy the fruit of his labor.
We appreciate the effort of Mama Adefulure. She did very well for us in Ota, Evaro. And we pray that God in his infinite mercy will be with her, will grant her more progress, long life, in Jesus' name.
Children are filled with excitement as learning has now become fun for them.
Better than before we didn't have this field. The building was old, some blocks are broke, there were bushes on some sides.
As the school was before, it was not fine, but now I am happy as it looked like. It looked beautiful and wonderful. So I like coming to school as the school looked like.
Oh, the school is not fine, but when our governor said I let them arrange it, so it was very beautiful now. I want to thank God for President Buhari.
We thank you, President Muhammadu Buhari, for giving us this beautiful school. We love you. God bless you.
The Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals has continued to intervene in diverse areas to bridge gaps in the ultimate quest to deliver on the SDGs in Nigeria. Just like the educational sector, the office has also been intervening in the health sector in its continued efforts at providing quality healthcare delivery to all Nigerians.
We want to support the subnational government to ensure that people can walk into the hospital, get the best of that you can get, and reduce medical tourism across the world, and that you can get value for money even within Nigeria. So we'll continue to do make a little contribution to add value to life and improve on healthcare delivery in Nigeria.
The office has completed the rehabilitation of the Ijebu-Ife General Hospital located in Ogun State. The rehabilitation work carried out in the hospital by the office include the total removal and replacement of the roof, and refurbishing of the ceiling, the renovation of the wards, administrative and pharmaceutical departments, renovation of the patients' wards, offices, and ambulance bay, provision of toilets and wash-hand basins, construction of electric fence for improved security, and the installation of lights within and around the hospital for better lighting, especially at night.
By the time we got here, it was in a very, very dilapidated state. Very, very terrible. But we went from changing the roofs from the admin department to the pharmaceutical department, and the ceilings, the roof. We need to extend the roof height, which we did, and the walkway roofings were done, and the gatehouse roofing. The ambulance bay to my left was done, and all the offices, including the wards, were removed and resealed. At a later date, we went to the mortuary section because there are bodies in the place. Our guys are scared of going into the place, but fortunately, the doctor assisted us by removing them to a portion of the place. We carry out the activation by replacing the roof of mortuary, the ceilings, the windows, the burglary proofing, and everything was done to our own satisfaction. So the admin department was completely rehabilitated. The pharmacy, we introduced a lot of iron doors into the main entrance of the pharmacy and the admin block. Even the Chief Medical Director's office, we have to replace the wooden door to iron door, which is more secure because of security-wise. And all the toilets were taken care of. We replaced so many water closets, wash-hand basins. This has had a very big value to the community. So far, so good. When you look at the place now, you know you are entering a well-rehabilitated cottage hospital of Ijebufi. So I thank the senior special assistant. I thank the management of the hospital for giving us the encouragement, giving us the ability, giving us all what it takes to handle the project.
Commenting on the project, Chief Medical Director of the General Hospital, Ijebu-Ife, Dr. Sisomi Olufe Adegbimire, said the renovation has brought about significant changes to the hospital. He added that the hospital is now attracting more patronage as a result of the rehabilitation. Dr. Adegbimire also said that the rehabilitation has brought about a sense of security for the staff, who are now more committed to work because of the conducive and better working environment.
Let me start by appreciating the SDG for this intervention. And I also want to express my appreciation to the contractors, the contractor that undertook the projects. The project started sometime in October. I remember that when they first came, they gave me a copy of the bill of quantity for me to go through. So before they started, I had a clear extent of what the bill of quantity was to be, the extent of work. If I compare what we have now to what we had before, I must really say I thank God and I thank the SDG. Post-renovation, we have witnessed an influx, a better inflow of clients. Probably because people now felt, the place is not as dead as they used to think. The renovation attracted more patronage because more people became aware that truly this is a general hospital. The renovation also brought some sense of security to the staffs and a motivation for better healthcare delivery. What do I mean? Before the renovation, our fence was low and almost insecure. In fact, the truth is, during the process of renovation, we experienced incidents of burglaries. Some of those things that were removed were stolen and transported out of the hospital over the fence. But since the setting up of the security fence, the security barbed wire, it seems to have given us a little more confidence in the hospital. Then the gate used to be so, it's like we don't have a gate. It used to be so low and anybody could just, but now it is much, much better. In terms of the thematic units of the hospital, now every staff seems to have that sense of motivation to work, because virtually all our offices now have ACs. And then in the night, the place is well lit. We have street lights now, which functions in the night. It's much better. I can only say thank you to SDG and thank you to the contractors. So by and large, I think we are grateful because it has made the hospital really, really more beautiful.
The rehabilitation works have been attracting commendation from beneficiaries, with them heaping praises on the federal government and the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs. The indigents expressed profound happiness about the significance of the project to the healthcare development of their community. They recount that nothing close to this has ever happened to the Ijebu-Ife General Hospital for more than 21 years. According to them, this is a true demonstration of good governance and proper representation. Residents say the condition of the hospital before now made people to be skeptical about the level of medical attention they are likely to get.
So far, so good. It's been fantastic. For over 21 years or so, nothing of this nature has happened to the General Hospital in Ijebu-Ife. Well, initially it was a district hospital before it was upgraded by His Excellency Chief Segun Oshoba in 2001, November 2001. And ever since then, well, somehow maybe the past government, they have come to do one or two things. But there's one thing that I frankly know, that the current governor has a mission. He has something to do here. But fortunately, again, the SDG came. The SDG came and said, oh, let us take over and do this. Kudos to the current Minister for State for Health, Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora, who helped through the SDG to facilitate what we are seeing now. Very good, quite fantastic. Everywhere has been touched. And also, you can see something new has been added, the ENT. Just go everywhere and see it is completely a new general hospital. May I just use this opportunity on behalf of the entire community of Ijebu-Ife to say thank you very specially to the special advisor to the president on SDG. Madam, you are doing a very good job. And with this, it shows that yes, you are truly representing the government of the people. And the government of the people is the government of President Muhammad Buhari. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody who has been part of this great development. Thank you very much.
We are a nation of believers, a beautiful country steeped in rich tradition and colorful culture. Come and explore our diverse and breathtaking landscapes, cascading waterfalls, and exciting cities. Discover, learn, and enjoy our amazing heritage. Delight your palate with our delicious range of foods. relax, and be entertained by the biggest and best of music, arts, and films in Africa. We are beautiful. We are amazing. We are Africa's hidden gem, the heartbeat of Africa. We are Nigeria. Tour Nigeria and see tomorrow.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello there. Welcome to this week's episode of Health Options, the program that not only tracks government policies on health, but gives you the information you need to make informed choices about your health. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah. As you are aware, Nigeria received 3.92 million doses of the COVID-19 Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine on the 2nd of March, symbolic of the first tranche of about 16 million doses allocated to the country through the COVAX facility. And what has been the projection? To vaccinate an initial 20% of the population with frontline health workers, strategic leadership, and persons above the age of 50 years as priority. The overall objective is to vaccinate 70% of Nigeria's population between this year and next year. So far, over 1 million people in the country have received the first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The second dose of the vaccine is due after 10 to 12 weeks of administration. The controversy, however, lies in the fact that the first batch of people were booked for the second dose after 12 weeks, while those who took the jab weeks later have been scheduled for second dose after 8 weeks. How do we reconcile that? When is the commencement of the second dose of the vaccine? These and more are questions begging for answers as we focus on the country's rollout of COVID-19 vaccine.
My name is Dr. Faisal Shuaib. I am the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Earlier today, I took my first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Despite all of the delays, all of the doubts, here we are, Nigerians can finally access the vaccines. I hope that Nigerians will come out and get this vaccine because these vaccines are safe, they're effective, and they truly work. Over the course of the next few weeks, we have to continue wearing face masks. We have to do social distancing. But I know eventually once we're able to get herd immunity, then we'll be able to stop all of these non-pharmaceutical interventions. To get the vaccination, you should go to the NPHCDA website. There's a link on there that you click and you can register and schedule exactly where you want to get your vaccine.
You are watching Health Options. Let's now join the Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, as we discuss issues around Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccination.
So the vaccination program in Nigeria, is going on very well. We've gotten feedback from different sectors of the country around how
31st, the Presidential Task Force rolled out the vaccination program very, very effortlessly. We've gone to the states and we've seen how we've been able to reach those eligible Nigerians that we've targeted. In some parts of the country, we saw where there were some queues, but these were part of the teething problems, you know, in the initial phases of the rollout. We expect that people who are enthusiastic will go even when it's not their time. And then because we also gave ample opportunity for Nigerians to do a walk-in, so we're not saying it is mandatory for you to register online, because we clearly understand that it's not everywhere in Nigeria that people have access to handsets, to internet. So we said you can do a walk-in, you know, when it's very convenient for you, so that we do not close the door on anybody who wants to take the vaccine. In some areas that led to you know, queues, but one thing that the health facilities have been able to do is to organize the queues in a way that you know, it's more orderly you know, than you know, in other instances. But overall, we are very confident that the work is going on. Like I've mentioned, when you compare the rates of vaccination in Nigeria with other African countries, we are heads and shoulders beyond what other countries have done. Again, this is because of the experience that we've had with the polio eradication. So we have that experience, that you know, technological know-how, the operational know-how to deploy human resources, financial and materials to the front line. For this particular phase, we focused on the health workers, frontline workers, strategic leaders. What, as you can imagine, all of this cut across different parts of the country. So we've not started going to the last mile, which is going to each and every community. That will come in subsequent phases. That is why it might appear as if we're actually focusing on the urban areas, because as you are aware, most of the frontline health workers in the treatment centers are based in the urban centers, right? So that is where we've started with those people who are in the front line of providing care to people who are sick from COVID-19. So those are the areas we started, our other frontline health workers and the strategic leaders. So in the course of the next few weeks, you'll find out that we now begin to have mobile teams that will get to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. So as of the last count, we've vaccinated up to 1.2 million Nigerians, and that, of course, is a number that is growing, you know, quite, you know, progressively. We anticipate that we will vaccinate up to 2 million Nigerians with the first doses, and then we'll get another the same 2 million Nigerians after that interval of 8 to 12 weeks. We now vaccinate them with their second doses. In terms of the challenges that we faced, of course, it started off with people who were over-enthusiastic, so they went to some of the health facilities. That led to some queues. We didn't want to have any queues at all, especially in urban areas such as Lagos. That is what we experienced. But we also experienced some glitches in the online registration. Of course, this is a technology that a lot of people who are in the front lines are not used to. So simple tasks such as linking the QR codes, the unique QR codes with the with data, that, you know, was a little bit of a challenge because a lot of the health workers and the recorders were not familiar with that. Again, we've had to, you know, institute multiple trainings, you know, to build their capacities. Like we recognize, this is the first phase. This is the beginning. This is a process of vaccination that will take up to 2 years. So we anticipated that in the first phase we'll have some of these issues with technology. And actually, we anticipated even more challenges with the technology, but you know, we are very happy that, you know, it's not as bad as we anticipated it will be, and we expect that, like we've already started saying, that the states are now getting accustomed to the platform, the electronic platform. And for us, you know, it's not a matter of the immediate result. It's actually about the future. How do we institute an electronic data system for our immunization systems? A system where, you know, it has integrity of data, security of data, and the people will be able to get vaccinated, whether it's COVID-19 or routine immunization for our kids. They can get vaccinated anywhere in the country. Their data is available. Even if they go abroad, you know, that data can be provided. And therefore, people who live in rural areas, riverine areas, mountainous areas, in their villages, right? It is possible to track them and make sure that our frontline health workers are able to go to their homes and vaccinate them, because we know that it's not every rural community that has consistent access to health services. The vaccine nationalism is something that everybody is not happy about, because there's nothing like a half eradication of a disease. It is either you do not eradicate the disease or you do a complete eradication. And where vaccines are available to only some countries, then it leaves other countries vulnerable, and you continue to have that vicious cycle of partial eradication, reinfection, and that is not helpful to public health. That means we're going to be here for a very long time trying to eradicate this disease, and it doesn't speak to the equity, fairness, and justice that is required, for any, global public good. So I am happy that this has been recognized, and that countries are trying to work together to see how vaccines will be made available. The COVAX facility was actually established for that same core principle, equity in the access to vaccines. So we will continue to work with all stakeholders, both in country and global entities, to make sure that equity is brought to bear when it comes to COVID-19 vaccination. For us at the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, we are very, very conscious of the need to ensure equity in the distribution of vaccines, so that irrespective of whether you are poor or rich, you have access to the vaccines, especially if you are eligible based on the different categorizations that we've made. Now, in terms of why we chose the AstraZeneca vaccine and not the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Well, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, first and foremost, is not widely available, right? The information that we have is, the earliest we probably will get it from the African Union. It's going to be sometime in July, right? And we cannot wait until then before we start providing vaccines to protect our frontline health workers from the death and illness from COVID-19. And then clearly the AstraZeneca vaccine is constituted in a way that it fits our cold chain requirement, right? So it can be stored between +2 and +8 degrees Celsius. And the types of cold chain equipment we have all over the country are actually those that can allow us to store vaccines in those temperatures and keep them very potent. That's very, very important. We don't want to have vaccines that are not potent. We don't want to be vaccinating our citizens with water, right? We want to be very confident that whatever vaccines we are delivering to our citizens are vaccines that are potent, they are safe, and they are effective. So in deciding to use the AstraZeneca, that is something that we considered. But we also considered the fact that the AstraZeneca pharmaceutical company was very clear to share that they did not want to make a profit from this vaccine. This is why the vaccine is relatively cheaper than other vaccines, because they did not put profit at the heart of their commercialization of this product. So if it is cheaper for all Nigerians, then why would we want to go and buy a more expensive vaccine just because it is more expensive, right? What we put in as a focus is the fact that it is safe, that it is effective, and that it is available. If a vaccine is not available, then what use is it to our citizens, right? And we're hopeful that in the near future, as vaccines become more and more available, we'll be able to pick those vaccines that will work best for our citizens. There are a portfolio of vaccines that are out there, but it doesn't mean that it is every vaccine that will suit our operations. We're very mindful of the fact that we want to rapidly vaccinate our citizens so that we're able to begin to climb out stronger from this recession, from the restrictions in interactions that COVID-19 has brought to our citizens. Clearly, we're out of economic recession, but in order to even improve our economic indices, we need to get everybody back to work and working full stretch to build a stronger and more united nation. From an initial instance where people were a bit skeptical, and there was an online, debates about the vaccines. We have seen in real fact, in actual day-to-day life, that Nigerians who are eligible are actually coming out en masse. We've seen large queues of individuals who are queuing up to get the vaccine, and we are going to be able to reach our targets. But if there's any independent scientific fact that compares what we're doing in Nigeria with what's happening in, say, other African countries, we're vaccinating, more than 2-3 times what other countries are vaccinating, right? So on a daily basis, for example, we're vaccinating over 90,000 individuals per day, compared to a country like South Africa that a few days ago was vaccinating just about 12,000. In Ghana, it's about the same numbers. So when you compare what we're doing in Nigeria in terms of the rapidity of coverage, in terms of the efficiency of our processes, we're doing much better than our African counterparts. But of course, when you compare with the more developed countries, then we're not doing as well as the developed countries are doing, clearly because we don't have the vaccines, right? Like they have stocked up and they're hoarding vaccines, in the developed countries, and those vaccines are unfortunately not available to developing countries. So they have the confidence to say they have a stockpile of vaccines, they can go at whatever pace they want to. But for us, we have to be more strategic to make sure that we have everybody covered by the first doses, and we also have the second doses available. But overall, we're actually going according to the plans that we've laid out to vaccinate all Nigerians. So it's pretty simple. We're going to be replicating what we've done in the first phase. So the first doses, the same types of communication, the same types of strategies, what we're going to be employing even for the second doses. So we're mindful of the fact that we have to give this second dose in accordance to what the World Health Organization has guided. So the second dose of the vaccine can be given to individuals between 6 to 12 weeks of the first dose, and that is the guideline that we're providing. So for a lot of the people that started the vaccination, we gave them 12 weeks. For others that came afterwards, we gave 8 weeks, which is really the same window that has been provided by the World Health Organization. But what we did as a presidential task force, the Federal Ministry of Health and the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, is to make sure that we're not adversely affected by the drop in the global supply of AstraZeneca. You might be familiar with the fact that the Indian government is cutting down on exports of the vaccine in Europe as well. So because of those delays that we anticipate, we decided to make sure that we cover our citizens with both the first and the second doses of the vaccines, and then we will now give adequate time to get additional vaccines coming to the country. Hopefully between the end of May and June, we hope that we might be able to get additional vaccines. All states, including Kogi State, which was the last state, has been supplied with the vaccines to vaccinate the individual, and from the feedback that we're getting, that vaccination process in Kogi State is also going on very smoothly.
Recently, both the president and vice president demonstrated leadership by being among the first Nigerians to have the AstraZeneca vaccine administered to them on live TV for all in the country to see. Subsequently, many federal ministers, political leaders, and members of the presidential COVID-19 task force have publicly taken the vaccine to follow in the footsteps of President Buhari and Vice President Oshibaja. To obtain it yourself, please go to the NPHCDA website. There is a link to click on in order to register and schedule your vaccination. In the meantime, please continue to wear face masks, wash your hands frequently, use hand sanitizer, and observe social distancing. This message was brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We sought clarification on vaccination in Ramadan for the benefit of our Muslim faithful.
As an agency, we don't have our personal opinions. I don't have a personal opinion on that issue. We are guided only by what the religious scholars that we interact with, that we get advice from, are saying. So, as you may be aware, religious scholars, traditional leaders, have a partnership with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency that was very critical to our eradicating the white polio viruses. So these are the same communities, these are the same individuals that we've asked, and gotten information from around what is the best advice. And the predominant advice that we've gotten from the religious leaders is that the act of vaccination itself does not vitiate, it does not annul your Ramadan fast, right? So you can take vaccination while fasting. The explanation there is that the vaccine itself is not nutritive, it's not nutrition, and like they've also guided us that actions must be judged according to intention. So the general information that we've got advice is that we should continue our vaccination even during the Ramadan, and that is what we're going to follow. So we're not making any additional logistic arrangements for the iftar period because this is not guided by the guidance from religious scholars in Nigeria, or even religious scholars that we've spoken with outside of the country. So there's no additional effort that is being made to that.
Any intake that has to do with the system of the body, especially that has to do with digestive system, it is not allowed. Any intake in form of liquid, solid, or whatever. Therefore, injection of this same type will go into the veins, and therefore it obstructs the rules of fasting. Therefore, it is not allowed. Why not delay it till after? If there is a need to do that, why government not make a specific arrangement? For example, after iftar, rather than taking
from accepting the vaccine. Of course, you are asked questions on allergies and so on, and you are given paracetamol, I think, to be taken every 6 to 8 hours, except where the people in the field feel that a person should not take it because of his answers to some of their questions. A Muslim should be able to take the vaccine even where they are fasting.
And this is where we conclude this week's episode of Health Options. You can go to our YouTube channel to watch the uploads of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Abdullah. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.